Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our very lengthy and very entertaining, we hope, deep dive into Pluto the series. So today we will be starting episode 2.
Woo!
Woo!
It's gonna be a fun time. I mean, we don't really start this episode that fun, but it's just gonna be fun and enjoyable to talk about the whole show.
Of course there's fun. There's flirting in this episode. Let's intentional flirting. That's fun.
No, there's some very fun stuff.
There is fun stuff.
There's just some trauma to get through.
Of course there is. Why would we wouldn't be here if there wasn't trauma to get through? Okay, so just a few quick Pluto-related announcements. First one is we still have our giveaway going on. So we have a mug from Pluto from GMMTV that we're going to do as a giveaway, and one of the Pluto candles that shows up in the show fairly frequently that we're also doing as a giveaway. At the time of this recording, we're not sure how we're doing this, but you should check out our social media because we'll be posting over there how you can participate and potentially win one of the Pluto merch items.
And I know we have been saying that, but as of currently scheduled this go out, it should be in the next couple weeks.
Yes, so follow us there for updates on that. And
at Big Gay Energy Pod, everywhere you can find us.
Yeah, who doesn't like free merch? So check that out.
Especially Pluto. Come on now.
I know. It's legit. Like, you see all the merch in the show, which is fun.
Yeah, that's useful merch.
It is.
And if you are interested in more Pluto content, we did reaction videos to every single episode of Pluto, and you can see the full-length reactions over on Patreon without any boxes covering anything. You get just the whole thing. Enjoy. It's a Pluto-y time over there.
Yeah. GMMTV is serious about their copyright stuff on YouTube. They're real serious, so it's hard to get episodes on there. So anyway. All right, speaking of YouTube, so before we dive into the episode, there's one comment I want to bring up from one of our fairly long-time listeners, Snakes Not Eyes. Thank you for always giving us your insight into everything, especially the Thai girl love shows. Like, your insight and opinions are super valuable, period. Okay, this listener left this on one of our Us episodes, I think, that just came out recently, but it's applicable now, and I just wanted to bring it up. So thank you, shout out to you. So here's what the listener said. I've been thinking about all these Thai series, and I think it's interesting / significant that the vast majority have a C plot of one of their characters' families being specifically dysfunctional or broken because the protagonist and parental figure don't understand each other. I and me mom. That's why I'm bringing it up now. And the resolution of the main storyline involves a reunification and strengthening of the family unit through mutual cross-generational understanding and the promise of better communication. Dang. Thailand, while being politically progressive when it comes to queer rights, is still, in parentheses, according to Thai people, very conservative in many ways. That combination makes me refocus that these are Thai stories. Maybe what that means is reinforcing the family dynamic in order to have these stories told to wider audiences. I also think that Buddhism and karma play a really big role in what we perceive to be an undeserved happy ending. This is also way longer than I wanted, which is my favorite part of the post. Anyway.
I remember reading this. I'm like, no, don't feel like it's too long. Keep going. We want to hear everything. Have you heard obviously you've heard the podcast. Just keep going.
Yeah, no. This is your target audience for really big opinions. All right. Any thoughts on that, Caitlin? I thought it was relevant to Pluto and just in general. I just wanted to bring it up.
It's really relevant to every single show. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that it's not relevant to, because even like 23.5, it's not like the generations, but like even the family still gets stronger at the end.
Yeah, I like the part that Snakes Not Eyes is trying to like bring up, which is that like these are Thai stories. You have to remember that, because like like we acknowledge that we are not of the Thai culture. We grew up in America, so like our lens is very through the American experience, for better or worse. So Thank you for that, bringing that up. Like, these are Thai stories. Karma I forget about because that's not super on my mind all the time. So like, I appreciate you bringing that up just to be like, hey, when you're watching this, remember like the culture is relevant, and perhaps there is a move to shift the lens a little bit so it is applicable to a wider audience potentially, since there is an international audience out there that is reachable, not just America, but like just like throughout the Asian continent too, that perhaps like if you dilute your culture to make it more widely applicable, that you'll get a bigger audience globally. So like that could be going on within the studios. Like, I mean, in America, it's always like that. They're like, how do we reach the most generic audience possible? 'Cause money. So maybe that could be playing into certain, maybe perhaps the way GMMTV adapts things too. They make it more like you can but like connect even if you're not of the culture because of how they kind of like adapt things. So maybe that's
Yeah,
why
and
we
we also
respond to
talked about
GMMTV.
they also format it and change things to make sure like the entire family can watch it too. So
Yeah.
they're really trying to get us the widest audience possible.
But that is such a good point that like the C plot does have to do with the family dynamic, because family is really important in many, many cultures, and Thai cultures included. And I like the insight that like communication is usually the answer to what's going on there. So like this was such an insightful comment. I just want to throw that out there. Thank you, Snakes That Eyes, for all of your participation. Thank you for telling us, hey, refocus. These are Thai stories. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy for us to forget that. And we do try to rein ourselves back in and be like, it is Thailand. We do know that there are aspects that we don't understand. We can't live that part of their culture. So thank you. Anytime anybody listening wants to let us know what is actually going on, feel free to tell us that what we're saying is wrong in a nice way. And we're very easily to be open-minded. We're open-minded. That's what I was looking for.
Yes, our life experiences skew how we're going to view things. So thank you for bringing that perspective back to the podcast. All right. And with that, let's dive into part 1 of episode 2 of Pluto. So this episode, we're going back. So we do a flashback when Ai and Oom were the little baby actors. Little baby Ai and Oom show up again.
I just want to say I love them. I love these little actors. First of all, they're adorable.
They are.
But they're a substantial part of the show. They get quite a few scenes.
They do.
And we also don't know anything about the sisters' relationship. So they have this big role of showcasing this relationship when Oom is not able to, talk right now because she's in a coma. So not only are they showing us their relationship, but the little Oom actress is showing us everything we know about Oom. That's a lot to put on a child.
That's a really good point, that the most dialogue we get from Oom for a while is the child Oom. That's a really good point. Well, because like this is the Oom, it's because this is the Oom Ai knows, and this is all Ai's journal entries, which is
that's
like,
true.
Like,
so it's still skewed.
Absolutely.
It's not actually. Well, we get it.
We get Oom later. And that's why I have so many unresolved feelings about Oom, because we're seeing Oom through Ai's perspective.
Yes. See, not only in this show are we really have to keep in mind the culture and differences like that, but now we have to keep track of whose point of view we're in, especially later in the show. Right now we are fully in Ai's point of view.
Okay, so Ai is telling us through her journal entry a time when she was little and her mother is reading her a bedtime story. And Oom is absent from this reading because Oom is sick in the hospital. And we enter the scene when mom is reading the line, "And the prince and princess lived happily ever after." Which, this episode is like the theme of fairy tale, basically. And I thought this was an interesting memory, because remember, this is Ai's journal, so Ai remembers this moment. And I think it's really interesting that this is the story, bedtime story she's remembering, because later on, she's in this episode, she's going to start calling Mei her princess and all this stuff. And the novel she ends up creating at the end is about a prince and a princess, and it's like the stand-in for her and Mei. So I think it's really interesting that like this is the story she remembers as a kid.
I mean, she was always just trying to escape. Maybe just wants that fairy tale life.
I think that I just always had a really creative brain, and it just, she didn't realize it.
That's too.
But that's a good point. Escapism, because like what's going on here? Her response to the story is really interesting and revealing, because mom finishes reading. She's like, "Oh, Ai, you're still awake? You were supposed to fucking fall asleep." That's why I read this story. And Ai's like, "Well, I wish that I'm sad because I wish Oom was here to hear the story with me." So I think this is really telling, because at this point, Ai misses her sister and just wishes her sister was here. It's not about the story. She just wishes her sister was here to hear the story with her. And it's again, it's about a prince and princess, which later becomes Ai and Mei. And like, again, Oom is third wheeling the whole time. Like, poor Oom.
You know, poor Oom.
I seriously, poor Oom. I love Oom. I feel so bad for Oom. But this whole scene with Ai and the prince and princess story is just and the way it's not about the story, it's about that she wishes her sister was with her to hear the story. It makes me wonder if part of the reason that I love stories so much, because at this time I really loved stories, and that's something Oom confirms later. And I wonder if I loved it because she's like, it was a way to bond with Oom. Because the thing, she's like, I just wish Oom was here. It's not about, I don't care about the story. I wish my sister was here. So it's almost reads the scene that Ai doesn't enjoy the stories as much when she doesn't have someone to share it with. And later on, like her love of, like in the present, when we go back to her and navigating the Oom shenanigans with Mei, her love of novels is really rekindled because Mei initiated it in the last episode, where she used stories as a way to bond with Ai. And then later on, when we get an Oom flashback, we learn that Oom liked stories only because Ai liked them. So it's like stories become this way that people bond with each other, and I think that's beautiful, because that is what storytelling is. Like, storytelling is a very human thing that's been going on for thousands of years, and it is a way that humans bond with each other. So I like the way that's woven into Pluto.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's also another thing of, if we both talked, like we could have probably found something else to bond over too. But yeah, storytelling in general, I mean, well, that's why we're here. This is how we bonded, and this is how we're bonding with a lot of audience members too. And I mean, the media is powerful.
Yeah, no, the Chow's novel brought us all together, let's be honest. Like, that's why we're here right now.
We are brought here today by Chow.
By Chow. Chow and her novels. No, it's really, really true. Okay, so then after that scene, we cut over, we're still in the flashback with little baby twins, and then we cut over to the hospital where Oom is, and dad is there watching over Oom, mom brings Ai. They sidebar. They get no lines, these people. Like, it's just like, the parents are so unimportant. Well, actually, mom read the story, but dad gets no lines. Like, they were so unimportant at GMMTV. They're like, no, you don't even need lines. Did they have names? Who knows? That were spoken out loud. Did they pay these actors less? That's the only reason I bring that up.
It's mom and dad. This is Disney. Mom and dad.
Yeah, it's Disney. This is Disney. We're gonna off them. Don't get attached. Okay, so Ai tells us in the voiceover, which is, again, remember, voiceovers for the most part are her journal entry. She's telling us that Oom has spent her entire life in and out of the hospital. And we don't know why Oom was ill exactly. It's not super explained, but I imagine that Oom had some kind of like chronic ailment where she would cycle in and out of like good health, bad health. So that's why she was like in and out of the hospital. But but that aside, what this is establishing is that Oom was, quote, like the weaker sibling because of this ailment she was living with. And therefore she needed more support because of that from both her parents, who are doing these like trading shifts at the hospital, and her big sister, right? And to Ai's credit, like even when she was young, because this is baby Ai, she, like without any kind of complaint or resentment, she willingly adopts the role of supportive older sister for Oom.
Yeah, I think definitely from having to be there for her sister growing up, that had just rooted her need to take care of others and make sure they're okay before her.
Yeah.
I know this is going to be like a skewed viewpoint, but in my experience, I've always heard parents and adults say, like, make sure you take care of your sibling, like, help them and do this. You're going to do all of this for them. So I wonder if she was kind of pushed into that slightly, like, not like you have to do this for her, but then she just took on that responsibility. And then
Mm-hmm.
it could also be that she was shown praise from that and respect at maybe from like the grandma, something like that, where it caused her to subconsciously keep chasing that approval from those people. So from like parents or grandma, and that just reinforced her need to take care of people even more.
Yeah, definitely. This seems like it was a very formative time for Ai, because that's partially why she remembers it so vividly. And this like seems to be, at least these flashbacks seems to kind of explain how you get adult Ai and her personality. So I think that's all super valid what you said.
What's also interesting, because especially at this age, you remember things vividly, but I know some of my stuff that I remember vividly was dreams that I had at this age too. So like that's like another we won't get into it, but like it's like how much is she actually remembering or what has her brain made a memory?
Oh, or a fantasy, because as we'll come to see, Ai is a natural storyteller, and she's pretty fantastical in her stories. So it's possible that this is, you know, fabricated to a degree because she's remembering it like 20 years later. So very valid. Okay, so all right, so we get this sweet moment in the hospital with the family supporting Oom, and then GMMTV decided to get the death roll going by taking out Ai and Oom's parents in the next heartbeat.
Immediately.
Immediately, they're just like, "Hey, look at how sweet this family is." Death. so,
And it's not who you think. It's not the person who was in the hospital. Well, thank you, first of all. But I guess the parents get to go then.
yeah, parents are first on the death roll, and so we shoot over to their funeral where baby Ai and Oom are huddled together, crying. And it's pretty significant how they're positioned. So like Oom is leaning all of her weight onto Ai, and Ai has her like arm wrapped protectively around Oom, showing what their sibling bonding was like this at this time, whereas Ai is the support system for Oom and like willingly and not resentfully does that. And because they're at a funeral, they're both wearing black because that's the mourning color in Thai culture and pretty commonly in a lot of cultures. But I want to point out that they are wearing the same color, and I understand it's because it's a funeral and like that's the color you wear at the funeral, but which makes sense. But like for Ai and Oom, they are very consistently in contrasting colors, like very consistently throughout the season or throughout the series rather. And we never see them matching. Their parents were not like the kinds who were like, let's match our twins. Like, no, the twins were always opposite colors. And I think that if you know, as we get into the scene is like really like where the rift starts between Oom and Ai. So I think that the fact that they're in the same colors adds a layer to the scene that really like reinforces like this was the last moment where Ai and Oom were on the same page before their sibling bond fractures. And that perhaps is another reason Ai remembers it so distinctly.
That's plausible. It's also the same exact shirt. I mean, it's just a t-shirt, so
Yeah, but still. All right, and then the adults show that they're trash. So some randos, why are they even at this funeral? Some randos are at the funeral and they're loudly talking trash about their family, and basically are like, "Well, the reason the parents died is because of Oom. Basically, they're like, they had to take their sick child to the hospital or whatever the fuck. And like, what the fuck was this? They're like loudly saying this by the children in the funeral. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry. How do
who
you
are
not
these
see
people?
the little children even make sure to look at them? How do you not notice these little children who are the children of the people's funeral that you're at? Like, I feel like you'd be more in tune with, you know, the children that are suffering right now because their parents are dead.
They're looking at the kids when they're talking. It's not like they don't recognize the kids are there. They look at them and give like judgmental glares towards Oom. Okay?
They're just trash.
They're just trash humans. And you know whose fault this is? GMMTV's. Because no parents die in this novel. So they decided to give us this scene for extra trauma, okay?
Okay, but we do need to talk about something else really quickly. And that is the fact that they say, I heard the car was overturned while taking their child to the hospital. So it makes it sound like Oom was in the car. And I'm just confused how the parents died, but Oom is sitting here and she seems fine, mostly physically.
That is an amazing question. I do not know the answer to. Because this is made up. GMT made this up to get rid of the parents, basically, and cause more trauma between the twins. Yeah, no, that's a great question. It could be that, like, I don't know, something weird happened. Maybe, like, they smashed into something, so everybody in the front was harmed, the back wasn't harmed in the car. Or it could be that, like, the translation is off and maybe they were on their way to see Oom, who was safely in the hospital. Which seems unlikely. Well, maybe Mima was there because, like, they seem to always leave somebody with her because she's a minor.
Yeah, maybe because I'm like, maybe they followed an ambulance, and again, only in my experience, one person can be in there. So maybe grandma was there too and went instead of the parent, and like the parents were following.
Yeah,
but
maybe
if anybody
were in the ambulance.
Thai speaking can just let us know if that translation is fully correct or if there was like a gap there. That'd be great.
The gap. Yeah, just let us know. Sorry.
I knew it was gonna get you.
Yeah, every time. Okay, but let's going back to the randos who are loudly saying all this stuff while looking at Oom and Ai. Okay. So I think that gives us the next part of the scene, which is then Mima appears. And then we get the scene, because this is Ai's journal entry, where she comes in and it's like, oh my god, Oom, it's fine. It's totally fine, Oom. And she, like, pulls Oom into her body and, like, basically rips her away from Ai. Because Ai and Oom were, like, you know, Ai was holding on to Oom. And then Grandma removes Ai from Oom's grasp and they let go. And this Ai's sad little voiceover is like, the day we let go of our hands was, like, the turning point of my life, and that was it, and this and that. And, like, little Ai looks so dejected and traumatized by the letting go of her twin sister. Which, yes, sad. And I think that this was totally inadvertent because I think Mima overheard the randos being like, wow, Oom, you killed your parents. And so she comes in and she's like, no, Oom, it's not your fault. Like, I think that's what Mima was doing. And that's why she was so focused on Oom and not Ai, because, like, Oom heard these randos being like, you killed your parents. So I think that's what happened in the scene, but I missed all of that and was just like, wow, she took my sister away from me and doesn't love me. But I think that's not what Mima was trying to do. I think she was like, fuck those adults. How dare you say that? In front of Oom, like, she should have yelled at those motherfuckers.
Oh my gosh, I wish she would have just slapped him. Hit her with a
also that too. Thai people are too polite. You need to slap more people.
We're such Americans. We're always advocating for violence.
Those people. I know.
The amount of episodes we have, like, just slap them.
Just slap them.
Okay,
if this is a telenovela, they would also get slapped. Or, like, throw a drink on them.
True. That is true. Something. Trip them by.
Something.
Could you imagine Mima just, like, everybody's walking and, like, just slightly puts out her foot and then they stumble?
That would be super funny.
I can actually see that. Just randomly. Okay, but I feel like Mima could have at least put a hand on just to be there for her too.
You mean I?
But yeah, sorry. But again, in Mima's defense as well for this whole situation, she is also grieving a child here.
Yeah, exactly.
She also hasn't had to parent children in so long, and doesn't know what this will be a defining moment for Ai. You never know what a defining moment in a child's life, which is terrifying when you're in charge of children. But let's go back to when they took they got separated in their hands, because little baby child Ai, oh my god, just looking at her hand, that part broke me. Ugh. It's so sad.
It is.
The only comfort that she had in this moment was taking care of her sister.
Yes.
So that was her oh, that's my role. I have something to do right now. And I'm sure that was part of a distraction for her. Now she has nothing, and she's just left cold, because now she doesn't even have the warmth of leaning against her. And it's so sad. And I just want to hug her. It's so sad.
Yeah. I think that's why I remembers this so vividly, because this was a defining moment for her. This is when she started to feel like the Pluto of the family, right? She's there, but everyone forgets she's there.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Chow. And I think that the other part from Ai is this is really the moment where she started down the path of self-reliance, because she saw that grandma now, or their one living relative, is solely there for I think that's what the message she got from this, and she's like, oh shit, I'm on my own. Not only she just lost all of her parents, but now her sister's being taken away from her. So Ai is kind of being told indirectly, you're on your own, kid, good luck, whatever, no hugs for you. And so I think this is also when the seeds of envy for start planting in Ai, because Ai is being denied what she wants most, which is love, and it's all of it is going to and that's what's going to make the Mei stuff really complicated, because Ai's constantly I feel this for me, but it's really for and all the love in her life has always been directed at and that resentment really starts here with the Ai and and love from other people, basically.
Also, in a way, it was Ai not feeling like she was enough to take care of because now Mima had to come over and comfort her, so she's like, oh, was I not doing it well enough?
That's true.
There's so much going on.
I know. Poor little baby Ai.
How a child processes things, too.
And I'm not going to get into Oom's perspective when it comes to this scene, because later we will get Oom's perspective on this whole scene. So we'll just stick with Mima and Ai for now and just move on with the series. Anything else about this scene before we move back to the present? Okay, cool. So let's go back to the present. So if you all recall from the last episode, which was 10 hours ago when we were recording this, basically Ai slept over at Mei's by accident, essentially. And it's the morning after, and she got that call from Jan. And so she's out in the hallway, and they had that conversation where Jan's like, girl, Mei is super suspicious. Maybe she caused the car accident. And so Jan explains in this scene that, listen, she is an unofficial detective. And she's like, I was hanging out. What was she doing? She's hanging out at the police station somewhere. She's overheard the cops gossiping by the water cooler. No, actually, she was at the funeral. Again, lingering with cops. And basically, the police think that this could have been an accident. This could have been intentional and not purely accidental, because there was the phone call that happened, and Paul's family is real hell-bent on keeping this thing quiet, and everything just seems kind of suspicious, okay?
Okay, but people just need to shut up at funerals. That's what we're getting.
Literally.
That's the whole lesson of the episode. Just shut up. Why are we talking about stuff at a funeral?
Trash
you go funerals. There. Actually, you know what? I have never been to a Thai funeral. In my experience with funerals, you go there, you try to make yourself feel better and comfort the family, pay your respects, and get out.
Not
you don't sit
talk
there
trash
and be
about
like,
the children.
oh, it was definitely this person's fault. And,
Right.
you know, this could have all been avoided. There's something nefarious here.
Although, why are the cops so willy-nilly talking about the funeral? I guess maybe they were talking to Mima, and maybe that's what it was. Because I was like, who are they talking to? It had to be a family member they were divulging this to. So maybe they were talking to Mima, but like, I feel like the funeral's not the place to have this conversation, but you know.
No, because the family members are Mima as well.
Right. It just seems rude to Mima, but again, this is all GMMTV's fault because there wouldn't be a funeral if you stuck with the novel, which I'm glad you didn't because you're GMMTV and you got this. It's fine. We love you.
You got this.
Okay, so let's go back to Jan and Ai. So Jan recruits Ai into this investigation she's got going on into Oom's accident. And she's like, gives Ai an ultimatum, basically. And that's what gets Ai to participate, where she's like, listen, girl, if you don't come to the police station, you're the worst big sister in the world. And we all know that Ai cannot resist that and will never abandon her big sister duty. So that means she'll show up.
Which is also a terrible threat. Like, come on now.
I know.
Could have done it nicer. Stop ruining Ai's mental health every single time.
Listen, it's like Jan is Oom's Peng, where she's like, I'm ride or die for Oom. You're just here because I need to help Oom.
And that's
so valid, like, yeah, she's more insensitive towards Ai.
Come on. We're here for Ai right now.
We are here for Ai right now. I mean, look at her. How could you not be? So, swoon for Ai-oon. That's what we say. That's our motto on this podcast. Anyway, so Mei emerges from the bedroom as Ai is wrapping up this phone call with Jan. And then Ai, not so smoothly, starts this like spy versus spy conversation where basically they're both being suspicious of each other, kind of, in their dialogue. And anyway, so Mei and Ai basically both prod to see if the other one is lying about something. That's what I mean by like spy versus spy. Like, what are you hiding? And Ai doesn't answer Mei directly because she's lying about literally everything. So she doesn't like answer any of Mei's questions really. She just like is like, okay, Mei, but what are you lying about? And Mei's first answer is like, well, you caught me. I was gonna have the maid make breakfast and say that I did it because I was trying to impress you.
Hold on, pause, because there is a huge cliffhanger here. Just to get into the theme song. And I just find that hilarious. That they like
they have this
intense music and then you're like, what is she lying about? Dun, dun, dun.
And her face falls very slowly. Like, good job, film like, and it increases the suspense because her face falls from a smile to like blankness very slowly, and you're like, oh god, what is she lying about?
And then you get the happy theme music and we come back to making breakfast.
Yes, and then Ai is like, oh, thank God, I thought you were going to say something nefarious. Like, I don't know, you know I'm Ai-oon or whatever. And then after a beat, Ai's like, okay, but is this breakfast thing the only thing you planned to lie to me about? And it's the fact that she put planned in there gave Mei, the lawyer, the legality to kind of say what she was going to say next. Because she answers in the most lawyer way possible by like indirectly answering in a way that leads Ai to her own conclusion versus like telling her something. It's a very big Nung answer where she like says things without saying stuff and she's like, think what you want. I'll just let you think that. So Mei says, well, listen, I could barely lie to you about breakfast. So like, what do you think? Do you think I'm lying to you about other stuff? Because who've seen the series know Mei is lying about so many things right now to Ai.
Most things.
And she did plan to lie. Did she plan to lie to Ai? Not about everything, but she easily could tell Ai, I know you're not Oom in this scene, but we don't do that.
Seriously, Mei here has all the power. Mei knows everything. Like, just put Ai out of her misery. But I find the scene so scary because we see Mei being so good at lying.
Yes. Yeah, that's the key takeaway from this scene, is that Mei can lie without any trace of anything, whereas Ai is a terrible liar. Like, so bad at it. That's what makes her a terrible spy. And she, like, if Mei didn't know she was Ai, she would have been outed so many times. Like, now rewatching this, I was like, Ai. Like, especially later when we get the cousin, it's like, Ai. Like, she is clearly not Like,
but, like, it's kind of hard to trust her, because you don't know what she actually means. She's extremely good at it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, she's a lawyer. Her job is like playing loose with how you phrase things, and that's like her profession. So
I could never do it.
But okay, so that part is like disturbing. Is like just like how easily Mei can lie, and you have no idea, and Ai has no idea. But the sadder part too is like that how easily Ai accepts Mei's response, where she's like, "I'm not lying." She's like, "Do you think I'm lying, Ai?" And Ai's like, "No." And then she just like gets happy and smile and like pinches Mei's nose like a child. Like, it's really cute. Like, Ai's response is very playful and adorable, because we don't see her be super playful with anybody, and she does it with Mei, and it's a very childlike and like pure and very sweet when she does things like that.
She's very different when she's around Mei. She's so much looser. We saw that in the last episode around the pool, where you just saw not relief, but just relaxation on her. She wasn't guarded. She's not guarded around Mei, and maybe you should be a little more, considering you just met this person, but it's a pretty lady. What are you supposed to do?
She's a pretty lady that just seems very unguarded about her feelings towards Oom. And I think that that's the thing that throws off Ai. Because Mei's just throwing around all this love, and Ai's just like, I don't know. And Ai's always wanted this, and she's like, I don't know what to do with it. And she can't, like, stay guarded around that, because she so badly wants it. And so it's easy for Ai to just, like, be like, okay, and just, like, accept it, because, like, she just wants it so badly. And it's sad. So, like, basically by the end of the scene, Ai has Peng and Jan being like, that girl is suspicious as fuck. Like, she's a murderer. We don't know. Like, she's suspicious. And then by the end of the scene, because she's like, oh my god, you're adorable. Ai's brain is basically like, Jan and Peng are out of line. How could this angelic girl be evil? Like, I got her nose. Like, you know what I mean? That was so funny. I'm like, was that Nam Tam just doing whatever, or was that Ai?
I do wonder if they're like, all right, just be playful, and then
right, it was just Nam Tam. That wasn't Ai. Anyway, so they go have breakfast, and then we shoot over to the police station, where we officially meet Officer Hottie, who is prim, but we nicknamed her Officer Hottie because look at her.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of forget how we nicknamed her Officer Hottie. I know it was a play on Officer Hot from Winona Earp, because the uniform. You always gotta love the uniform.
Officer Hot.
But I completely did not know what her name was, even though it's like said in here. But it's Officer Hottie.
It is Officer Hottie, so we're just gonna refer to her as Officer Hottie going forward. Okay, so true to her word, Jan is taking the Oom investigation into her own hands by trying to cosplay as Oom's relative so that Officer Hottie will give her the incident report. This was so ballsy of Jan. Does so many like ballsy things throughout this series, where it's like, girl, you're a fortune teller. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Breaking into police stations? Like, she's so ballsy.
The confidence that she has to have to do half this shit too. Like,
so much confidence.
No fear of embarrassment. No, like, just all in. One track.
Yeah. Mind. She's so ride or die for Oom, which, like, makes me happy that Oom has somebody who's willing to, like, literally break the law constantly on her behalf. Like, that says a lot about their friendship, because we don't get a lot of their friendship, but that speaks volumes based on Jan's behavior, because she's doing this for Oom. Or maybe she wants to be a detective, who knows?
No, that's the spinoff. Officer Hottie and Jan, detective. Jan is the detective in training.
No, I wanted the spinoff where it's like the psychic and the detective thing, because she's a fortune teller.
Oh, yeah,
like she
yeah.
could use her powers to like help
Yeah.
solve mysteries. Like that would be great. Just throwing that out there,
That sounds
GMMTV. I
better,
would watch
actually.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Officer Hottie, you get the sense from the scene that she's somebody who follows the rules very strictly. So she like calls out Jan for like literally not being related to Oom, and she's like, "You're not getting this case file. That's illegal." But Jan is super undeterred because she's a super psychic detective, and she's plays her whole hand where she's like, "Listen, girl, I know that the police got this real suspicious number that they're investigating that called Paul and Oom, right? And that could have been a trap, right? And this may not have been an accident, right? Am I right?" And Officer Hottie kind of like doesn't say much, but she reacts in a way that shows that like she's also suspecting that this whole thing, something weird happened with Paul and Oom. But is also surprised that this rando knows all this classified information. She's like, "Why do you know this?"
Because your coworkers don't shut up at funerals.
Literally, it's your coworker's fault. And Jan's nosy as fuck. So basically, Jan gets nowhere with Officer Hottie. And then I shows up and is like, "I'm actually her fucking sister. Give me the goddamn file, bitch." And I love the way I saunters into this room and then casually like hands the ID to Officer Hottie and then proceeds to stare down Officer Hottie the whole scene. Like, this was so unnecessary, and very entertaining to watch I do this power move with Officer Hottie. So I like get the sense that I is somebody who doesn't like authority or cops based the way she behaves in the scene.
I feel like something happened with cops. There was some incident with the friend group, and
Well, I wonder if it's like goes back to like Ben's accident and the way he got zero justice, and that made her hate
that whole thing,
authority going forward, and like the law and stuff, and
lost respect for authority.
Yeah. But like, damn, why?
Also, when she pulls out the ID, something that I brought up in the reaction video is that there was a chip on it. So in America, what I know of, we only have credit cards with chips right now. And that's so we can pay with things. So I'm like, why does their ID have a chip? So I have learned that the chip, so that card is a smart card, and it houses their fingerprints. And so you can verify your identity a lot quicker through things. So that's why there's
smart.
a chip. And it's like a very secure system where you can't like skim it. Like if America had something, we'd just be stealing identities left and right.
That's why we have shitty IDs in America.
But yeah,
America's scam country.
I thought that was very interesting that everything is on this chip.
Their national ID.
Yeah.
All right. So after Officer Hottie confirms that ID, she's like, "Okay, I guess you're I." The three of them jump into the case file because she's like, "Okay, now I can legally tell you because you're the family member." So Officer Hottie is like, "Listen, the call you mentioned is super suspicious, but we don't have any definitive evidence that this call is even related to the car accident, like scammers call all the time. And the amount of phone calls I get that are just nonsense scammer calls is absurd." So like, she's like, "They could have been that. We don't know. We have to investigate more, hence the investigation." And then I get super triggered by this answer. And she starts aggressively grilling Officer Hottie. And I points out that she's like, "But like, listen, it was their wedding night and they left the house after this phone call. So like the phone call must have been really important to get them out of the house." And like, you have no idea, sweet summer child, how important that caller was.
But seriously, it still could have been anything.
It literally could have been anything, and that could have been super unrelated. But I understand where I is like worried about her sister grasping at straws. But yeah, it could have been literally nothing.
Just wants answers.
But as I is grilling her, Officer Hottie looks super uncomfortable Because I get the sense that she is getting a little bit triggered that Ai is basically calling her incompetent in this scenario. Because, and that gets confirmed for me because like then some male officer shows up and it takes the file and was like, it was an accident. See ya. And then he like left. Which was super suspicious to me because like she's the family member. You're supposed to tell her shit. And he's not telling her anything. Just like, let it go. And then he leaves. And I like looks to Officer Hottie where she's like, explain officers who's actually in charge of this case. And Officer Hottie looks like a little shifty-eyed, and then we get crickets. Like, no one says anything. And if you look at Officer Hottie's body language, she's like hangs her head low, like she looks defeated. So I get the sense that she experiences workplace harassment / prejudice as one of the few, if not only, female officers in this precinct, because we don't see any other female officers. We only see all the men, okay? And this man comes in and is basically like, don't listen to her. This investigation's closed because I said so. So
yeah, and he like explains everything as it's been told before, like it was just an accident and all that, but her face while he's saying it, you can fully see that she does not believe what he's saying.
No.
But she's not allowed to speak her mind. Now, if this was Jan, she'd be like, bullshit.
Yeah, and it's like she looks like she's being overruled because if you look at the scene, we get this like kind of like wide shot of them where like Ai is staring down the man that shows up. Jan looks dejected. Officer Hottie's got her head hanging low, and then the man officer that comes in is literally like his head's out of frame because he's towering over all of them. He's like, he's the authority figure here. Listen to me. Because I said so kind of deal. So it makes Officer Hottie seem really small in her like workplace. And like when we jump into the team, she seems like somebody who's really competent. She follows the rules. She's doing all the things. She's being suspicious of suspicious shit. And then here's this man who's like, this investigation is over because I said so. Like Officer Hottie deserves better is what I'm saying.
Was he one of the officers at the funeral and he's just like going back
right?
on everything and just doesn't want to deal with the paperwork?
Listen, that is very plausible. All right, so then Jan and Ai, dejected, leave the police station, and Jan reasons with Ai that Paul's parents are powerful. Like, if there's something suspicious is going on, they would insist on an investigation. You're so close, Jan, because they're also powerful, so they probably would do whatever's in their power to protect their family name if some shady shit went down also. So, like, let's remember that. Reputation's important in prominent families, right? Yup. But anti-authority Ai, cannot let this mystery phone call go. So, luckily, amateur detective Jan is like, I caught the digits from the case file. Fucking Jan. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Here we are.
But I love how like I kind of assumes this too. She's like, did you get the number?
You got it right, Jan.
And Jan's like, oh yeah, I gotcha.
Fuck yeah. Would I be Jan if I didn't?
But they're both proving that they are terrible detectives / spies because they make this phone call right outside the police station.
They sure do, on probably camera, because there's probably cameras watching them right now. So yeah, Ai makes the call. First call, no dice, nothing happened. They're like, well, fuck. So they're at this point, Jan's like, I still think it's Mei. So why don't we try and isolate her and then call this number and see if her phone rings, basically. So Ai, at this stage, is like, okay, Jan, I agree. So Ai goes back home to then start this mission, okay? And then we get a scene where we have to hydrate for Lesbian Jesus, because that is the only reason this scene is here.
Everyone, take a minute.
Just take a minute.
Okay, not get a whole minute though, just a moment.
Moment of silence for Lesbian Jesus, because oh my god, this scene. So then it cuts to outside of Mima's shop, where Ai is sitting on her motorcycle and putting on her jean jacket in slow motion. Which is the most female gaze thing ever, because like the male gaze is women taking off clothing, and then female gaze is women putting more clothing on in slow motion. We had that with Gentleman Jack, with so many other shows where they're just like, why is this more attractive?
You're not wrong.
I know.
I mean, it was great.
It was so good.
Marvelous.
It was.
Marvelous, darling. You're doing great.
It didn't play into the plot. It was there for my happiness, because this truly is the episode of Ai being unreasonably attractive just by existing. Like, that's the plot of this episode.
She does normal things. I mean, she really did exaggerate that putting on. That was just for herself.
She just like flourished that whole. That was so unnecessary. That was just.
It was so unnecessary.
It was unnecessary,
but it was necessary for us.
But I need to hydrate again for that image. Damn it, Ai. Also, her walking into the police station, also, and the way she did that, also unreasonably attractive.
But during this scene, we also get this like low angle tilt again. So she's like slightly tilted in the frame. And my theory now is that the low angle tilt is the Ai is determined to figure out what Mei is up to. Framing.
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Or she's just on a mission.
She is on a mission. So besides this scene existing for my entertainment, it exists to show that Ai is shedding most of the Oom disguise before she goes to see Mei. Because if you look at her, she's putting on her clothing. Like last time she went, she was still wearing Oom's like fancy clothing. She's full on jean jacket Ai with a t-shirt. The only part of the Oom disguise she's actively wearing is the ring. Okay, that matching ring that Mei never puts on. Only Ai wears it. Only Ai's wearing it.
Props to her for making it to a whole episode in clothing that she's not comfortable in.
Right. It does not take long. It's hilarious. It doesn't take long for her to shed the Oom disguise, but it's really starting here, and it's starting to get super dramatic. So again, Ai's like, all right, let's go, mission time. So she starts up the bike, and then Mima comes out. And this whole scene happens because she's worried about Ai, and Ai does not clock that. So Mima comes out and she's like, Ai, why are you riding your bike? You can just take Oom's car. Because Oom's car is the safer vehicle. First of all, that's why she's saying it. But also, like, Ai, that's the better disguise because...
Seriously, if it was she has a car. You had access to it this entire damn time and you still chose the motorcycle.
You chose the bike.
Is it that bad to drive a car?
She's like not trying to be Oom is kind of the thing. Ai is so Ai. She can't really be Oom. I will say though, in the novel, Ai was like the worst when it came to this stuff because yeah, Oom had a car and Oom had credit cards. And so Ai was just like, well, you're in a coma, bitch. And basically took Oom's credit card, like racked up this credit card bill and was driving her car everywhere. She's like, well, I'm being Oom. It was so funny.
But see, she's like protective of her sister, at least like more so in the show, because this I would never do that.
Not like protective, but more like respectful of Oom's stuff. Like later when she gets the laptop, she's like, sorry, Oom, but I really need this. I'll give it back. Not a novel. I was not like that. She's like, because when Oom wakes up out of the coma, she gets her credit card bills and she's like, what the fuck are these bills? And I's just like, it does not offer to pay back. Like, it was terrible. I was really bad in the novel when it came to Oom. So yeah, this is a GMMTV's version of Ai that I prefer, who's like, nah, she's like, listen, I don't want to deal with all the headache. Because it's probably like more gas money. Like, there's practical reasons why she probably wouldn't want to take the car. And then she's like, if something happens to it, I owe Oom. And she's like, that's a headache. I don't want to owe Oom shit. This is enough that I'm doing for Oom. So then Ai turns the engine on, and then Mima keeps trying to talk to her, and she's like, well, where are you going? Like, what do you do? Like, because she's worried about Ai, but it is so, like, the engine drowns out Ai's thoughts, and she can't hear anything, so she doesn't see that her grandmother is legitimately worried about her, which is the thing Ai doesn't think Mima's doing, you know, like, caring for her. So it just shows how, like, not on the same page they are. Back to what Snake Not Ai said. It's the miscommunication between these two, because, like, her grandmother loves her. You can see it in this scene. She's worried about her, but Ai doesn't see it as the problem. All right. So then Ai rides the motorcycle all the way to Mei's house, and and parks it outside the front door where there's cameras. She's a terrible spy, but this is the first time she takes the motorcycle to Mei's, which is important to know. And again, parks it. Like, there's garages. She parks it in front of the front door where there's cameras. Proving that Ai is literally the worst spy ever. Because again, if the maid was on the same page with Mei, she could have been like, just showed up on a motorcycle, Mei. Like, you know what I mean? The maid could have outed you so many times.
But it's already a long walk to get to Mei in there, so you gotta like pull up right at the door, right?
This was ridiculous. I know, she could have like hid the motorcycle. She did not think of concealing her I-ness in this scene. She's just like, whatever, Mei can't see. But like, girl, the people around her can see you.
But also, like, we talk about this a lot too. She'll be able to hear, but I don't think Ai has ever thought about the other senses other than seeing.
It's true.
Because there's so many other identification factors.
Well, like literally later in the scene, she does not the scene in this episode. She does not conceal the fact that she's riding a motorcycle to Mei at all. She just like gets on it and turns it on in front of her, and it's like, girl, yeah, it's very possible she just doesn't think. She can't think straight, and that's okay. That's why we're here.
You know, maybe she just wants Mei to figure it out so she doesn't have to say it.
It's true. Subconsciously, maybe she wants her to be like, "You're not Oom, are you?" And be like, "No." What are you gonna do, like, Mei? She's like, nothing. That's what I wanted.
Going back and knowing that Mei knows that this is Ai is just like, one of you, just say the truth so we can get this over. Because you're both just, well, no. Mei's waiting for Ai to tell her that she's really Ai, not Oom.
That, and I think really what Mei, it's with the big thing with Mei, she's afraid. Like, yeah, she has Ai, which is the thing that she wanted, but she can't see Ai, so she doesn't know if Ai is hanging around her because she like feels bad for her, or if she actually likes her. So that's why Mei keeps trying to test that with Ai, because like it's a big scary thing. Like, she's been waiting for her and then can't like fully experience this because she lost her vision. So I think she's afraid is really what it is. And then Ai keeps outing herself willingly. So it's like, anyway. Okay, yeah. So other thing about this scene, Ai uses the Oom's key card to get into the main gate. So that's important because nobody is alerted to the fact that she came here. So she didn't buzz the maid. She just let herself in, basically, which is important. And also another key in their relationship, Oom and Mei, like, Oom had a key to the house. Like, again, like, what the fuck was their relationship? They had engagement rings, a key, and then we learned their relationship was, like, nothing. It's, like, weird that they had all these things going on.
But it's also weird that I found the key card before and then still continued to not use it.
I know. She's Ai. She's not good at this.
Oom had a key card then. You don't think that whatever. But when she uses the key card, there's like a slight smile on her face that she was just like happy that it worked.
This was so cute. She's like, oh, yay! I'm a good detective.
Yeah, I'm a good detective. I successfully got into the building.
And then you start. Like, it's too bad they don't have the soundtrack to like Mission Impossible. And you get the da 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 da. When Mai's like pressing the key card, she's like, da da da, and like the gate opens, da da da.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to have a hero moment, so gotta get that soundtrack ready.
Protective girlfriend Ai yet again. Okay, so Ai makes her way through the gate and then gets to the main entrance, and upon entering the door into the mansion, she hears glass shattering on the floor. And she whips around the corner and finds a strange man who's got his arms out towards Mei, and without thinking, this is what she sees. She's strange man, broken glasses, the puppy's in trouble. So without thinking, Ai runs into the room and pushes the dude, like manhandles this dude and pushes him away from Mei and starts yelling at him. She's like, who the fuck are you? And why do you have your hands on her? Get away from her.
Yeah, she may not be a great detective, but she is a great protector.
She is.
That was so effortless, the way that she just flew in there.
That was her instinct. She did not think. She just acted. That was her instinct, was protect Mei. Like, that was the instinct. This man who's bigger than me, she just attacks him.
Well, yeah, she's not going to think about anything else. There is just protect Mei.
Protect
Mei. And then you gotta cue the song Grenade by Bruno Mars, because this girl definitely would catch a grenade.
Yes.
for Mei.
She absolutely would. And on day 2 of this, yes.
And then effortlessly, I'm just picturing it right now. Like she just catches it and just like diffuses it with no effort whatsoever. I don't know if you can diffuse a grenade. I don't know anything about
idea,
grenades,
but I can figure it out.
Yeah, with no knowledge whatsoever.
No, none of that. Okay, so when you know the full story, this is actually pretty reminiscent of the first time I met Mei. Like, this is literally what happened the first time they met. Mei was being bullied, and I, without knowing any context, shows up and, like, gets the bullies away from Mei. Only in this context, she knew who Mei was and was more emotionally invested in the person being bullied versus just being like, fuck you, bullies, I'm looking for a fight. You guys look like my type, and then like beats them all up, and like she basically is doing the same thing. So here's I 20 years later, has not changed one bit.
The proof is right here. Thanks for pointing that out, because
and Mei's like, oh yes, this is definitely I. Whew, I wish I could see this.
She is true to herself.
Mm-hmm. She's into this I big time. It is a crime she can't see this, because yes, ma'am, this is your fantasy. This is your first meeting playing out yet again. However, it's a little bit different. Instead of being some randos at the schoolyard, the dude that she assaults is Mei's cousin, Dr. Tan. And like, that information comes out, and Ai's like, ah, fuck. And he keeps appraising Ai throughout this whole scene. Like, you'll watch, like, not just this scene, but the whole sequence of scenes that happens where he keeps looking at her and like kind of sizing her up and stuff, because spoiler, he knows she's Ai and not and this is Tan meeting Ai legitimately for the first time. And like, when you watch the whole series, you realize that Mei talks about Ai a lot, and like, so this is him meeting Ai and she assaults him, so that's interesting. But like, to protect Mei. So okay, he gets a sense of her character in this scene, but being like, oh god, Mei, what are you doing? So from his point of view, he's like, okay, I is protective of Mei. Like, she did that again instinctively, and I assume Mei has told him the first time they met, and where I did the literal same thing. So he's like, okay, this must be I, because she's acting like the I Mei described to me. So that's legit. Also, he knows Oom's in a coma because he's a fucking doctor at the same hospital. So that's Tan. But from Ai's point of view, she's like, oh, fuck, I just assaulted her family member. Like, fuck. Like, if I was Oom dating her, I would know this. And I just, like, assaulted him like he's a stranger. So things get really awkward after that. And poor Ai just looks like, well, fuck, how do I thought I was being a good spy. I like got in with the key card and I was doing all these things, and then I assault her family member. How the fuck do I get out of this? Because this looks really bad as okay? But like, the other thing too is, I think she was wearing more Ai-friendly clothing, because A, she hates wearing clothes, and B, she's like, well, Mei can't see. So why am I wearing
Which is fair.
clothes? And then she comes in and meets the family member who can see what she's wearing, and she's clearly not So she's like, fuck, like, seriously, how do I get out of this? This looks really bad. But then Mei saves her, because Mei's like, Mei is having the same thoughts. She's like, fuck, I just like probably completely blew her cover as I didn't tell Tan about I was meeting Ai. He's gonna be like, what the fuck is this? Your Oom's in a coma. So Mei's like,
also, he might ruin the whole thing by saying something.
Right, I'm getting somewhere with her. I kissed her. Like, all these things are happening. And Ai's like, well, you see, the thing is... And Ai's like, Tan, this is why I never showed you I was afraid this shit would happen.
So you were afraid that glass would break and she would
Everybody
protect
looks
you.
confused. Everybody's so confused. Tan's like, really, Mei? This is what you're going with? It's so funny. Because, like, Ai's like, oh my god, she's saving me. Thank God, with this lie, because I had nothing. And then Tan's like, really, Mei? This is what we're going with as the story. This was so funny.
But at least he goes with it.
He definitely goes with it. Like, he's a good sport. He's Mei's ride or die. before we get to that, I do want to point out that Ai does apologize to Tan. So it does go to show that, like, she's the type of person that is capable of admitting when she's wrong, which is a big character trait because, you know, not everybody's easily capable of that. So that's speaks to Ai's character, that A, she's protective of Mei, and B, she's, like, willing to admit when she's wrong. But this was so funny. The way Mei is like, Tan, this is why you two have never met because of this. And he's like, oh, okay. Okay.
And the fact that she can't even, like, give silent cues to him, too, because she can't look him in the eye or anything.
No. He's just like, okay, Mei, if that's the bullshit story you want to go with, I'll roll with the bullshit. So then he pivots the conversation. Like, the reason he's here to kind of surrogately look after her in a way. And he takes her to doctor's appointments and stuff. And he's like, okay, Mei, let's talk about your family. Because also your dad sent me here. Because we'll find out his backstory later. But he's partially here because of her dad as, like, the informant on what's going on with Mei. Because we'll find out that Mei and her family are not on... No webcam, no thumbs up. They are not on speaking terms.
If you're listening, Theora's webcam does reaction sometimes depending on her hand gestures, so it just gave a thumbs up.
It just gave a thumbs up. I didn't mean for that to happen. Anyway. So he's like, listen, Mei, I'm just really worried that you can't function outside of this house. And maybe not even inside the house, because look at the broken glass. Like, if I wasn't here, you could have hurt yourself. It sounds like, and then Mei gets pissed off and, like, defensive, and she's like, well, if somebody hadn't moved it from its usual spot, I wouldn't have fucking knocked it over, because I know everything in this house. Like basically this house is like her controlled little environment, and so she can navigate really well without her sight because she's designed it that way. There's, like, scented candles that help her navigate. She's basically mentally mapped the whole place. So when something is out of place, she can't anticipate it necessarily, and then... So that's why he's like, girl, like, the world outside this mansion is not by your design. So, like, I'm worried that you're here by yourself and you need somebody to, like, take care of you outside of the house who can take you out and look after you. But Mei gets super defensive because it's almost like he's reasserting to her that, like, she's limited because of her disability, whereas Mei works so hard to, like, prove that she is not useless because she's disabled. So it's almost like he's throwing that in her face a little bit, which is fucked up.
It is. And her arguments here are extremely valid. Because, again, this is her house. And he is the reason that it broke in the first place. So you can't use that argument when you're the reason that she didn't know where it was. And, like, I get like you can't control the outside environment, but this is the environment that you're using as the excuse, and this is her controlled environment.
Exactly. It is weird. He's obviously not a lawyer like she is. Yeah. I get that he means well and he genuinely cares about her and is, like, kind of a ride or die for her. But the way he comes off in this whole scene is that, like, he kind of puts her down while he's doing it. And I don't know that that's intentional, but that's how it reads, okay? Because we're seeing this from Ai's point of view. Because then the camera cuts to Ai. And Ai's like, well, this is awkward that I'm in the middle of this family drama that I didn't mean to be in the middle of. And she's, like, kind of getting privy information into Mei's life that Mei hasn't told her about yet. Which is, like, she barely leaves this house now that she's blind, even though she just went abroad. And then he starts talking about Mei's family, and that's where things get a little weird again, because he's like, hey, you should just move back in with your parents because then, quote, someone can take care of you and take you out into the real world and take you to doctor's appointments and do all those kinds of things. And then in the same breath, insults Mei by saying, well, then if you were at home, you wouldn't be so obsessed with this stupid International Lawyer Association. This was the most fucked up thing that he says, because we come to see why she's doing this and how passionate she is about this association that's trying to do good stuff in the world. And then he shits all over it in this conversation, which, like, dude, like, this was so weird coming from him.
First of all, why is it a bad thing for her to be obsessed with, like, just like it? Like, she wants to help people.
Right.
Why is that a bad thing?
I
Oh, I'm
don't
sorry.
know.
Women aren't allowed to have interests or act on behalf of themselves in that family, apparently.
I know. This reeked of like her father and not
Mm-hmm.
him, kind of, in this conversation. Or
Which
like maybe
is
his
a lot of
misogyny was
things.
showing. Yeah. But also, like, she's a fucking lawyer. Like, why would it be weird for her to like get involved with a lawyer association?
Like, that's the least weird thing ever.
I know. It's so not weird. But I guess what he's saying is like you're obsessing over your job and not living your life might be what he's trying to say, but it comes off as him belittling and being, patronizing to her basically, which
That's the whole conversation.
yeah, is the whole conversation. And once he like pokes at the lawyers association, that I think triggers Mei also like the most, because then we get like a wider shot and you see Mei like start to reach back for Ai, like for support, like because she was like by herself like taking him on in this conversation, and then this is when she reaches for Ai. And I do wonder if she did that because they're discussing her family now, and if that conversation is difficult for her to have because there's a lot of bad blood with her family. So meaning like this is a hard conversation for Mei to have, so she's like, I need my emotional support, lesbian. Or if she was reaching for Ai because she was afraid Ai's gonna hear all this shit about her family, because like, and like disappear, because this is actually truth about Mei that's coming out in this conversation, because all the conversations she's had with Ai were like coded in layers of like Oom and Ai stuff. But this is a direct conversation about Mei that's like truthful information about Mei that's kind of out of Mei's control. Because Tana's just saying stuff. And like you said, she can't cue to him and be like, shut the fuck up. He's just talking. And so like Ai's hearing all this shit about her. And so I wonder if Mei's like, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me.
Yeah, she up to this point, she's done a great job of not really giving anything away, unlike I. But
Oh my
she
God.
doesn't give up personal stuff about herself because, first of all, she's a lawyer. She knows that anything you say can and will be used against you.
Even in courts of love, yes.
Courts of love. Great job, Say. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I also wonder, now that you bring that up, that like if you think about it, all the conversations that they have had, her like Mei and I, in the present time have all occurred in Mei's house. And like you said, this is her controlled environment. So Mei is very much in control in this house. She's even controlling all the conversations, except this one. This one gets out of her control because of Tan, the wild card that comes into the conversation. And so like she can't control the direction of this in front of Ai, because she's been curating all the shit with Ai, because she's like, I know she's Ai, but we have to like ease Ai into this, because the first time I met Ai and kissed her, she fucking ran away and was searching in her car for 2 days. Like, you know what I mean? So she's like, this has to baby steps with Ai. She gets spooked.
It's a big car, Mei.
Yeah, it's a big car. And here's all this dirty laundry coming out of her control. So I wonder if she's like, fuck, don't leave. Because then she gets real truthful about her family after she like literally has a death grip on Ai's hand. So Mei basically expresses that like she's super against moving back home, because she's like, who the fuck's gonna actually care for me, Tan, when I get home? Are people actually gonna take me out? Or are they just trying to like get me under their roof so they can control me? Versus like I'm amazing control in her house, like has control of her life and can do this lawyers association thing, which I think her father would fucking hate that, what she's doing. So
He hates everything she does.
yeah, but I think that's where all this vitriol from Tan is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the dad. And so she's like, sure, Tan, I'll move back home where my father is ashamed of my disability and her queerness. So like basically he wants to hide her and control her, so that to preserve his reputation. So like that's Mei's family, which is so fucked up. And it makes her seem like weak, like he would weaken her by going home. And she's trying to be strong in front of Ai, because Ai is the inspiration for her to stand up for herself. So I think that's why she, like, if you watch her when she's delivering the line about, like, her father and him, like, basically putting his reputation above his family, she, like, grips onto Ai a little bit tighter because I think she's scared. Like, because, like, her upbringing made her weak. And, she kind of made this, like, silent promise to Ai when they first met that she would stand up for herself and stand up to bullies. And her father is a huge bully. And she's clearly still kind of afraid of him a little bit. And I think that kind of comes out a little bit. But to Ai's credit, Ai doesn't know the context of any of this because that's Pluto, the series. And so I senses Mei's fear and unease, and she does, like, put her hand on top of Mei's and, like, grip onto her even tighter to show Mei that, like, hey, like, I'm here for you. I'm supporting you. I'm not leaving. So I think that was a good move on Ai's part to kind of, like, sense what Mei is feeling, respond to it, and gives Mei what she needs in that moment.
She does that a few times, like putting her hand on top to make sure and
Yeah.
ground her.
Yeah. She's, again, because like you said, she's very good at being the falling into that I'm supporting you role without thinking. And I think with that kind of courage from Ai, Mei decides this conversation is over. And so she basically tells Tan to fuck off. And then she leaves before he can take a breath. And she drags Ai basically away from him. And so, like, she's navigating around the coffee table past Tan because this is her controlled environment. She knows what she's doing. She's in charge. But once Ai's brain registers what's happening, she switches back into, like, oh shit, yeah, I have to support her. And she gently stops Mei, and then, like, long enough so she can get in front of Mei and then, like, lead Mei away from all the furniture. Because that's what Ai does. But the brilliant part, or not brilliant part, the amazing part is that Mei lets Ai do this, which says a lot about how much Mei trusts Ai. Because in the conversation with Tan, she's trying to be like, I'm self-reliant, I'm fine, this is my house, I can navigate it as long as things aren't moved. But then Ai's just like, no, let me lead you out of here. And so if she was really trying to win that argument with Tan, I feel like she'd be like, no, I got this. But she lets Ai do it. And it could be because she's shaken by having to, like, talk about her family, to be honest.
Yeah, and both of them are fairly different when they're with each other. Like, it's not just Ai. Mei
For sure.
is a lot more willing to be guided and
Taken care of.
sorry. Yeah, taken care of, even though she is portraying that she is self-reliant, and she is. But Ai is someone, she's like, okay, well, I want you in my life. I'm fully here. Take care of me. I am here for you.
That and like literally any excuse to touch Ai, she takes it.
Yeah, that's that too.
It's
I mean,
relatable,
you
girl.
say no to being taken by the hand. Like, yeah, you just take the hand, and you're like, okay.
You're like, okay, let me grab onto you even harder now. Mei does that
Both
constantly.
hands
now. Okay, and then we learned in this conversation that Mei is absolutely not going to that doctor's appointment that they set up for her. So when I watched this the first time, I'm like, are these nefarious doctor's appointments? Like, what is happening?
But, okay, so Tan says that we have a doctor's appointment. And I just find that so insane that, like, the controlling nature in this sentence of saying, like, we have a doctor's appointment. Like, he has to be there and, like, can't trust her to go on her own. Like, it's just, it boggles my mind. Like, how controlling, and the audacity to be like, oh, like, no, it's the both of us.
Yeah, it's kind of like with her disability, she's being forced into being codependent on other people. So, like, I feel like that must bother Mei on some level that, like, he has to take her to the appointments because he has to navigate her there. That must suck for Mei.
And, like, the whole thing is that they want her to come home so they can control her. Yes. Which is way worse than her being able to control her own environment.
Yeah.
Because, like, now they're going to be watching her every move, choosing everything for her. She's going to be I would say baby, but if you're babied, you're kind of like cared for.
Right.
She would still be neglected.
Yes,
in every
neglected
way,
baby.
but still have everything controlled for her. And it's just,
Yeah.
This whole scenario is just terrible. I do want to take a second to back up because this whole scene is focused on Mei and Tan because that is what's going on. But in it, there's this brief interaction between the maid and Ai, and the maid tries to put the house shoes on Ai, and Ai just refuses. She's like, no, I got it. And because of what we talked about in the last episode of Ai just like refusing help in general and not wanting to burden anybody with helping her, it's just another show of that pattern. But Mei is now able to wear her down because, Mei, she's persistent. And really, Ai needs that. Ai needs to be taken care of too. So again, they just complement each other so well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also wonder if with the interaction with the maid, there's like a class system thing playing out because Mei is a rich girl who's had servants her whole life and would be used to that behavior, whereas Ai is of the servant class and be like, "This is weird. Please don't put my shoes on."
I'm nobody.
We on the same page.
Yeah. That's fair too. A lot of the shows we've seen that dynamic, but we haven't seen like the servant class really interact with each other too much. So like we haven't gotten like the lead being not the super rich one. So the show's just great. I love it.
The show is so good. All right. After that, Mei leads Ai to her office. And we get a glimpse of where like Mei's workspace is. And before we jump into the scene fully, I just want to talk about the decor because I think the decor is important for setting up who Mei is, and it also kind of plays into the scene a little bit. So first glance, it's like kind of a dark room, and it makes like all the color pop. So she has all these like gilded edged books, like something a lawyer would have. So emphasizing she's a lawyer, well read. There's posters on the wall of her travel locations, so like Scotland, etc. So showing she's wealthy, right, and has traveled all over the world kind of thing. But behind Mei's desk is what I find to be the most interesting piece of artwork, which is a side profile of the statue of David, which I actually got to see in real life, and it's fucking huge and really fantastic. This is one of the greatest sculptures of all time, just like how it was done and how beautiful it is. So, but it's more about the imagery than anything else. So who is David? So this is the Christian myth of David and Goliath. And basically it's a little mortal David takes down the bigger, badder Goliath with a sling, basically. So it's a story about using your wits to defeat a bigger enemy who's all like brawn and, muscle and that kind of stuff. And it's like an underdog story, basically. So if you think about it, Mei is a lot like David. She is the underdog in the story and like society now due to her disability. Because like, think about the conversation we just had with Tan, right? Where he's like putting her down and being like, you can't do stuff on your own, blah, blah, blah. So it puts her in this underdog position where Mei has to use her intelligence and her wits about her because her cleverness is her greatest weapon, right? Just like it was for David. That's how he beats Goliath. And if you think about it, like, Ai also can kind of be read as like an underdog because I think Ai thinks she's one because she feels like the outcast in her family and like, quote, the dumb one, and no one thinks she can succeed in anything meaningful. So in a way, they're both kind of underdogs for different reasons. So I think this is a clever portrait to put in Mei's office, which is like her private sanctuary too.
People don't typically value street smarts.
No. And I like puts them on display in this conversation she's about to have with Mei, which is kind of fun. So upon entering the room, the first thing Ai does is ask Mei about the International Lawyers Association. And I love that she does this because she just learned a bunch of new stuff about Mei in that conversation with Tan. And then she's like, what about that lawyer association he brought up? Because that's showing Mei a genuine interest in one of Mei's passions. So this has nothing to do with the mission, right? This has nothing to do with like, who is Mei? She's like, what's this thing you're putting all your time into? Tell me about that. This thing you're obviously passionate about.
Yeah, I love how out of everything, that's what she chose.
That's what she chose to ask her about. Exactly. It says a lot about Ai, and that Ai is genuinely interested in Mei the person, not just the mission.
Also, who cares about the family stuff? She has her own family shit too.
Well, like,
What's
she does ask Mei about that later, but she's like, tell me about your interest first, not the messy family stuff, because she got a good sense that Mei was distressed by that part of the conversation. So like, again, the empathetic person, is like, tell me about the thing you're passionate about, not the thing that makes you upset. Which Ai's very empathetic and good at reading people, is like the bottom line. But instead of answering that, Mei detours the conversation and asks if I think she's useless. And Ai's like, why would you even ask me that? Like the first thing she says, why would you ask me that? Because she's confused. Like, everything that Ai has seen about Mei does not scream this woman is useless. In fact, Ai is so impressed how capable Mei is. She's like, I can't. It makes her friends be like, how is she blind? She's so capable of stuff. So like, it's like the opposite is what Ai is thinking about Mei, which is like the irony of this.
Do you think it could be that this whole thing with Tan, not that she would think that she is useless, but like put that like slight doubt in her head, so she was kind of asking Ai that to build her up again?
From Mei's point of view, you mean?
Yeah.
I think that Tan is in her head right now, for sure, because he thinks she's useless in a way, and her dad thinks she's useless. So I think that got under her skin. And then she doesn't know genuinely how Ai feels about her when it comes to this, when it comes to the pity of her being blind. So I think that's the test here with Ai. She's like, do you think this about me? Because I think Mei senses that Ai doesn't, but like, she can't confirm it 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why Mei pivots and she's like, I am asking like if you think I'm useless because I'm blind. Like, she flat out clarifies that. And Ai reassures Mei that she does not think that by getting super real with her. And is like, well, nobody's perfect, Mei. And then before she continues, you watch Ai like sigh and looks like contemplative for a minute. Like, she's trying to think like, how real do I actually get in this conversation? Do I like be real as Oom, or do I be real as Ai?
This is the most she's thought about that at all.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, yeah, exactly. She's actually thinking about like how do I approach this? And she does approach it as Ai, honestly. Like, it could be read as but like not really. So she kind of looks around the room and she's like, yeah, you do have the blindness thing going on, but she's like, you're wealthy though. And because you're wealthy, you have power. Whereas like, I'm poor. And so I can't go to Scotland on a whim, or like afford this house or things like that. And in some ways that means I can't do a lot of things because like wealth prohibits me. And she's like, does that mean I'm useless to you? Like, I can see, but I don't have the same opportunities that you do. Am I useless? Is what Ai says. And Mei sits with this question for a second, or sits with this answer, and then she smiles, and her reply is, we think exactly alike. And for Mei, I think this conversation and Ai's response to the previous conversation with Tan are proof that Ai is in fact the person she loves, because she's like, you think about this the way I think about this, which is to see past the surface and like look at the person and be like, judge that person for who they are, kind of thing. She's like, I do the same thing. So I think this was really reassuring to Mei, and like, this was a test for Ai to be like, are you actually, did I make this fantasy up in my head about you? They met once, and you know what I mean? And like, Mei's been harboring this love over one exchange, and I think this is the confirmation for Mei to be like, I was right. It is you. Like, you are, like, I was right about my feelings for you because you are different from everybody else. And here's the proof right here, the way you answered this question.
This is a lot to put on one meeting.
Yes.
Because like your whole life literally changed because of that one moment. But
I mean, I does like give her advice that she stuck with that did change her life. So it's
yeah,
that more so than that she saved me, the damsel in distress. It's that advice I gave her.
that's fair. Ai is using a great therapy technique here. So she is relating to herself, but she's basically, I mean, again, Mei is trying to see where Ai is, but to Ai's point of view, it's kind of like Mei is just making sure she doesn't think she's useless. So she's like, what advice would you give a friend? So she's putting herself into the shoes. So she's like, well, what would you tell me? So there's your answer. And I just thought that that was very cool.
I mean, I guess I could have been a therapist, maybe.
No.
I said maybe. I also wonder if Ai is also feels insecure because she is, lower class and is a delivery driver. And like, here's Mei, the well accomplished lawyer with all this money. And I wonder if she's kind of like, are you going to judge me for that? And I wonder if that's like the undercurrent of her question as well. And Mei doesn't judge Ai for that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you come to see everybody in Mei's circle who sees Ai is like, who let the trash in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mei doesn't do that.
That's a good point too. Because even like Oom was with her, but Oom even from the scenes we got between them, like looked down on Ai. She's like, I'm out there flying around all these places and you're just here doing who knows what. And you're a delivery driver. Like, yeah. So she is different than her sister too. So
Yeah, because Oom fit into Mei's social circle a lot better because Oom had money. Not the Mei's level of money, but Oom had more money and like dressed the part of somebody who had money. She was educated and that kind of stuff. So she has more in common with Mei on paper than Ai does. But you see, like, that's not what matters. It's like get past the cover of the book and look at the actual text, and it's like Mei and Ai, to Mei's point, we think alike, and that's more important. Like they actually are more compatible personality wise, not just like what's on the surface, which may be another thing GMMTV / Chow is trying to get at with the story, which I like. Okay, and then so Mei, after testing Ai and is like, you passed, I do love you, she goes on to actually discuss what the International Lawyers Association is and how she got involved. And this whole thing was purely written to the series. And I love it so much because, spoiler, in the novel, Mei was not blind for that long. And the whole time she's with Ai, she's faking she's blind.
oh my gosh. So
yeah,
when we were watching it, I was right.
Yeah, so like all these conversations with like Peng and Jan are like, I'm pretty sure she's faking this shit. In the novel, she was absolutely faking her blindness with Ai, which was just
Thank
wild.
you, GMMTV.
Yeah, no, I like the way they did it. They're like, we'll make her actually blind, give you a disabled character, like let's go into these things. So yeah, thank you, GMMTV. I like the substance of this. Especially this explanation. So basically what happened was after Mei became blind, she gained a new perspective of what life is like living as a disabled person. And she saw a lot of injustice just in the way the world is structured, the legal system, all kinds of stuff that marginalize disabled people, whether it's intentional or not. And so she decided to use her power as a famous lawyer to make the world a better place by improving human rights, basically. And she's telling all of Ai this, and when she does, she like migrates behind her desk, right? Because she pulls the file out of the drawer and like hands it to Ai. But the image of what's happening here is when she's behind her desk, you have the portrait of David hovering over her shoulder, because in this legal fight, this group she's joining is like the underdog group, right? Who's hoping to make things better by changing society, which is a Goliath, you think, legally. There's so much power in government compared to like this small group of passionate lawyers. So I love the imagery there of David. So good choice, props. Love it. It fits into the scene really nicely.
Also, everything we learn about this association just makes Tan look even worse.
Yeah.
For saying that she was obsessed with it.
Literally.
Like, it's a good thing.
So
Because at that point, we don't know what it is. I mean, first of all, it's still plausible, no matter what it is, for her to be involved in it, because, lawyer. But now it's just like, oh, you don't want her to help people? You're a really terrible person.
Which I think really is a reflection of her dad being a shitty person. Yes. But yeah, it makes him look awful, honestly. So Mei, this is my favorite part. So Mei shares the brief with Ai, which is basically like her roadmap for making Thailand a better place. Basically, she's like, I'm trying to get support so I can specifically help the Thai disabled people make life better. And then Ai like skims through it, basically. And like, she's like, yeah. And like, let's be real. She has no idea what any of this says. But like, I think Ai's just like, this is a good thing that Mei is trying to do, regardless of what this says, because I don't understand legal jargon. And I love that Ai is genuinely impressed by what Mei is doing and trying to do. And I think that by Mei sharing this with Ai, it really does assuage her suspicions about Mei being nefarious towards anybody, including and Paul, despite all the weirdness and the missing puzzle pieces with that whole thing. She's like, how could this person who's like obsessed with human rights be this evil person that like Peng and Jan are trying to paint her to be?
It's not adding up.
No, the math's not mathing here.
I mean, apparently gays can't do math, but this is pretty
This gay is trying. These gays are trying. But I just genuinely love how impressed Ai is, because she smiles and just tells Mei flat out, like, this is really cool. Like, what you're doing is really cool. Like, you're cool. And Mei's face lights up instantly because her inner child must be doing cartwheels because, oh my god, I just called her cool. Like, I, who was like, glasses, like, you need to get, like, stand up for yourself, tells her cool in the scene. Like, this must be so validating to, like, inner child Mei.
That is a great point. But also, it's someone's finally giving her a validation. Yeah. In general, because no one in her life is really like, oh, this is a great thing you're doing. So there's finally someone is like, I see you, I see what you're doing, and it is a good thing. Not that she needs the like reassurance, but
well, yes. But to have it to be Ai must be like doubly validating. And this whole scene, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlethems, is a lesson in peaking. So some people peak in high school, and some people glow up in adulthood. And Mei is a glow-up girl. Okay? That's what the story's telling us.
Boy, is she ever.
She became cool as an adult. Who was a little nerd in high school. So, to all the nerds out there, be a Mei.
Yes, you can do it.
You can do it. All right, so then this cute moment happens, and then Ai follows us up with, is there anything else I don't know about you?
Yes.
And glow up Mei, who just got told by her crush she's cool, decides to shoot her shot with Ai. And like, this made me wonder, I'm like, in Mei's mind, what is Ai? Like, is Ai like her fake girlfriend? Like, what is this situationship in Mei's brain? Like, what is it?
That's valid. I didn't actually think about that, because
me either.
Ai is just wanting to think that Mei's her girlfriend,
right?
Because she has to be but now there's no excuse for Mei. So it's like
right. This broke my brain.
If we were just coming into this right now and just had like some of these facts, it'd be like Mei is toying with Ai.
She is, in a way.
Yes, but
But,
in
like,
like
because
a
she wants to
nefarious
date her.
reason. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know what she would like. I mean, yeah, you know what? She's probably like, "Yep, this is my girlfriend."
Yeah, right. Like in her
Might
brain,
call a
she's like,
different
"I is my
name.
girlfriend." Yeah, exactly. Whereas, like in I's brain, like their trope would be well, like fake girlfriend because I'm pretending to be Oom. So like, this is not really my girlfriend. She's my fake girlfriend. So I have to act like she's my girlfriend, but she's not my girlfriend. Whereas Mei, I think you're right. May's like, Oom is my wife, or this is my wife. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I is mine. I has no idea.
Eventually, this will resolve itself.
Yeah, eventually. But I was just like, at this point, how is Mei categorizing their situationship?
That's what I think in her head. She's like, eventually, this will be all fine. We won't have to deal with any of that anymore.
Right.
But this
This is
is
destiny.
this is happening.
It's happening. This is happening. Okay.
It's happening.
It is happening. So okay, so glow up Mei, what does she do? She leans over the desk towards I, like getting into her space, and basically tells her, "Well, here's something you don't know about me. So you just learned in the previous conversation that I don't like going out, but I do like going out as long as you're with me." Which on the surface, like I starts panicking because on the surface you could interpret this as like I like leaving the house because I feel safe with you, or option two, which is I want to go out on a date with you, is what she's saying. And like based on I's initial reaction, her brain goes to option two, and she's like, "Oh my god, is she asking me out? Not, I mean, me, And then Mei manifests these thoughts by repeating and being more clear, like, "Do you want to go out with me? I'm actually asking you out, because I'm not confident you're getting this, because I can't hear you or read your face. So like, let's go out on a date, I is what I'm saying."
See, my brain for some reason was like, this is her asking her to be her girlfriend. I'm like, I mean, they're together technically right now. I don't know. This whole relationship is very confusing.
It sure is. That's half the fun. It's so confusing. But this is at minimum, it's Mei asking I out on a date, basically. And adorably awkward I flirts right back with Mei, which is great. And she just goes into little like nickname mode where she's like, "As you wish, princess." And she does this like gentlemanly body language where she like sweeps her arm across like she's being chivalrous to a woman who can't see her doing this. So like it's like there's a lot of things going on here. So number one, the nickname. So the princess nickname, which I'm convinced I has been calling Mei in her brain for quite some time, and it just like comes out naturally in this moment. It's such a like fantastical, playful thing. And then she like goes into like princely mode where she's like their body language, like she's playing along with this thing with Mei, and it's playful. And I is again rarely playful. She's only playful with Mei, so it's really cute that she just like defaults into this. So this is I being I, not I pretending to be You could tell by the fact that she's being super playful and stuff. So like when Mei asks her out, she's like, "Yes, go out with me." I is basically the body language read.
I do love that. I mean, again, it's not that
She's so
she's
funny.
like forgetting that Mei is blind. It's just like what she does.
It's
It's
what
like
she
you
feels
move
in
your
that moment.
body language.
Yeah, it's cute. It's
It's
very cute.
adorable, but it's just I don't
May
know if she
can't see
fully
it.
understands that it's not getting across. I don't think that part has clicked.
No, I think it's just I feels this, therefore I is doing it in the moment. It has nothing to do with like what May, like she's not doing it for to impress May. She's doing it because it's what she feels, which is the bigger thing. So it's a betrayal of I's feelings in the scene, the way her body is kind of responding. Because it's not for May's benefit, because she cannot see her. It's I just feeling this and doing it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about that scene?
No, that scene's so cute.
Well, but before we continue on to the next part in the episode, we have to do some quick shout outs for our Chaos Crew over on Patreon. Our Chaos Crew
Woo!
members on the Big A Ride or Die tier and above are Dana W, A Mix Monzone _ Multi, Natalia, Danny, Cassie M, Here For It, Jill L, Regina B, and Monet F. And our featured Big Gay supporter members for this episode are Grace S, Melissa, and Dugongi. Dugongi. I'm so sorry. I apologize already.
You let us know. We love you all. Thank you for your support and for participating. We hope you're enjoying all the episodes early without ads for everyone on Patreon, and then for our upper tiers. We hope you enjoy those little bonus episodes that you guys get that are us fan fictioning about Thai girl love stuff. Hope you enjoyed Us the series episode season 2, our fan fictioning about that.
Oh yeah, it's a crazy good time, and if there's something that you want us to do on the After Dark episodes, you just let us know. You know that we're little monkeys and we perform.
We do whatever.
And have fun doing it.
Absolutely.
But also, everybody watching and listening, make sure to come join our Discord, because we have discussions about Pluto, all Thai girl love shows, all queer media in general. Just let us know what's going on, connect with each other. It's just a place to enjoy queer content and know that you're not alone, and connect with other people who love the same things you do. All links are in the description.
All right, so jumping over to part 2. So Mei and I agree to go out together. And so Mei in the prior scene was in her night dress, which is kind of important. So like basically Todd woke her up or whatever, had this whole fight. So Mei's like, I have to like get presentable for outside. So she goes to take a shower, and then I is like hanging out in Mei's room, I think, or just whatever in the house. And so she's texting Jan while Mei does this, and she's like, listen, Jan, I'm gonna take her out or whatever. And she's like, but you know, my cover was almost blown because her cousin showed up. And Jan's like, were you smooth about it? And it's just my favorite part. Ai's never smooth. And she's like, no, but luckily Oom didn't know him, so it was fine. And then Jan's like, that's real convenient, girl.
But when Jan asks if she was smooth about it, Ai's response is, smooth my foot. And I died at that response. She's like, no, I was
not at all.
I was the least amount of smooth you could be.
At least Ai's not delusional about her spy capabilities. She's not.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Okay, and then Ai admits that, like, basically once Tan showed up, she's like, I honestly wasn't paying attention to how, like, smooth I was being, because her whole focus was on protecting Mei. And she says it, like, in the text to Jan, which, again, revealing. And Jan's like, I'm still not convinced that, like, this woman isn't setting you up. I think that you came off as smooth because she wanted you to, because girl, you're a disaster. And I still think she's behind all of this.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just very curious about why Mei making Ai look smooth, because she's behind. Like, I don't understand how that would help.
So in the conversation, I didn't write it all down, but like in the conversation, basically Jan says something like, I basically, like, she was insinuating that, like, Mei knows she's Ai and not Oom. And she's like, well, if Mei is trying to pretend that you're Oom, then it's in her benefit for that discussion to go smoothly, which was true. That is exactly what happened. That's why Mei jumps in and goes, this is why I never let you guys meet Tan. Because that's exactly what happened. But Ai is not convinced that Mei knows who she is. And she's like, that seems extreme and weird, but this is a child porno novel, so that is what's happening. But basically in this conversation, Jan's like, no, girl, we need to, like, we have the phone number, we need to catch Mei with the cell phone going off when one of us calls this number. We have to, like, confirm that she's not she is or isn't involved in this based on the information that we have. And I is like, listen, girl, I've been spending actual time with her. She just learned about the International Lawyers Association thing, and she's like, it's not her. I'm taking her off the fucking list. Like, I decide that unilaterally. She's no longer a suspect because I said so. Because how could this angelic human be a suspect? Like, all the things that I is actually learning about Mei does not add up to her being nefarious. So that I's like, fuck this, Jan. Like, you don't know her. I'm getting to know her. I'm telling you, she's not evil. So take her off the list. Let's stop going down this road.
And we cut to Jan's reaction to receiving this text and just confusion and disbelief that I has the audacity to just cross her off the list because Jan's probably thinking that because she's pretty. But there is a lot going on that she doesn't.
Well, also, like, Jan knows that that Mei knows this is I. So that like too. This conversation is funnier because Jan is basically being like, girl, if she didn't think you were Oom, which she doesn't, then like this would play. But I's like, no, there's no way. Like,
we really gotta make that murder board. Because everybody, I mean, the answer is that everybody knows everything except I and Peng.
And Peng, yeah. I and Peng have no idea what's going on. Everybody else knows. So that is true. It's weird that Jan is still playing along with this. Like, Jan could have been like, girl, she knows your eye. Like, why is Jan playing along with this? What is her benefit to playing along with this is my question.
A mini-sode of Jan. Just Jan's point of view of some of these things. Because Jan really could have given her more information so many times.
Especially now. Like, what is the benefit? I guess the benefit is like, I guess Jan, the reason she plays along with this is because she's like, she knows the history of Oom and Mei. And I wonder if she senses that Mei is the one that called and is like, did they get into a fight? Like, was Mei jealous? Like, what happened? Like, what was that conversation with Oom on her wedding night? Why the fuck was Oom calling Mei on her wedding night? Like, I wonder if Jan is, like, freaking out and can't really say any of these things because she's like, well, if Mei is involved, like, we have an inside man with I, and if I's cover is blown, then I can't investigate Mei on Oom's behalf. So I wonder if that's where Jan's kind of coming from. And, like, she's basically trying to warn I covertly to be like, girl, she knows more than you think you know. You need to be fucking careful. And I's like, whatever, she's perfect. Jan, let's stop investigating her.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So that is hilarious. Yeah, she's like,
it's kind of hilarious.
Trying to lead the horse to water right now. But it does make sense because even if she told I and like still tried to get I to be undercover, I is terrible at being undercover.
Yes.
So nothing would work.
No.
So that's fair.
No.
Also, she's probably like, because she is a ride or die for Oom, so she doesn't really know how Oom left things too. So she's probably like hands off of like, don't say the least amount so I don't ruin anything for Oom as well.
Yeah, because again, she's also trying to like, I guess the other thing with Jan, I guess the other weird part of this is that Oom sent I to break up with Mei, being like, once I says those words, then Mei knows I sent her there. So I guess if like I doesn't do that, then like Oom's wish is not being fulfilled and like Oom's sin can't be resolved. I don't know. This whole thing is a hot mess, basically, is what I'm saying.
And there's a lot to think about.
Yes, but we stop thinking in the next scene because I text Jan and she's like, investigation's off, Jan, whatever. And then Mei emerges from the shower to put lotion on her legs.
Yes, let's get into this scene. So
let's get into this.
Mei comes into the room. I puts her phone away very quickly. And again, she would not have noticed you were on your phone to begin with.
No.
But I think it was more so the guilt of talking about whether or not Mei was involved at all in this. She's like, oh, she wants to put it all away. She doesn't want to think about that part. She just wants to be with Mei. And then Ai seems to gay panic slightly because, the pretty lady is now just in a bathrobe.
Yeah.
And all I can do right now is stare, which is typical for her and is a possibility. Like, again, this is a great opportunity for her just to stare because I doesn't, my gosh, Mei doesn't know she is, but she is hoping she is.
Listen, this entire scene is an opportunity for everybody, okay? Because I'm convinced Mei did this on purpose. Because she could have done this in the bathroom. She could have put on lotion in the bathroom. But I think she did this, came out into her bedroom, sat on a chair, and did this because she either knew or was hoping I was like still in the room. Because she left her in the room. And she was hoping I would still be there, waiting in the room. So this is part of Mei's flirting game that she started and she started in her office where she was like, well, I'm going to ask you out on a date. And then she's like, she's doing all the things she can do to be like, to get Ai interested in her, basically. So this is part of her flirting.
So Mei's flirting seems to have a theme song because the first episode, she was flirting by trying to take care of her and bandage her finger. This one, she's putting lotion on her legs. And then we hear the Love on the Brain song music underneath again because Rihanna's back. And also,
Rihanna's back for the flirting.
Rihanna's here for the flirting. This scene really could have been a great product placement scene.
Seriously.
That would have been so organic.
Seriously.
Instead of putting it at the end.
If they had a lotion partner, this would have been great. But I think it had to be lotion because I don't think they had like a brand deal with any kind of lotion. They had like face cleaning products and then noodles. It would be really weird if she came out with noodles. I mean, I'd be into it, but it would be kind of less organic if she was just like, I need a snack now that I showered. Anyway, so
yeah, a snack in the bedroom.
Ai is immediately a goner. Like, immediately, because she comes in, and to your point, is like, oh my god, robe. Which means there's no clothes under that robe, or there's limited clothes under that robe. So she freezes, and she's like, okay. And then Mei has the lotion bottle. When she opens the lotion bottle, Ai puts together what's about to happen and, like, starts to gay panic immediately. And then you watch her gay panic more and more because she's like, oh my god, an ankle, oh my god, a shin, and then a thigh, 2 thighs, oh my god. And like I is like fucking panicking, but then like she's like, she doesn't know I'm here or whatever, I'm just gonna watch. And she like very intently is like watching Mei put lotion on her legs and is just enjoying the view because I could be a gentlewoman and leave. But she doesn't. Instead, she uses her cosplaying privileges to, like, watch this play out.
Until she finally, like, just starts, like, shaking herself back into, like, being present. Yeah. And is like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
I will tell you what she's doing. She's continuing to do what she's been doing this whole time, which is giving herself what she wants just enough before she has to bring it back to the mission. Like, knowing that she can't fully be present because this isn't what she thinks. This isn't for her. And, like, in this case, it wasn't pretending to be Oom. It was being respectful and telling her blind girlfriend that she is in the room. So, like, no, snap out of it. You have to let her know that you're able to see her. And she doesn't have to do any, like, she could make any sort of noise to alert Mei. It doesn't have to be actual words. Like, you could gay panic all you want. Just make a sound. Like, put your phone on the table. Anything that would alert her. She does silently gulp while she's staring at her.
Silently.
Silently. So that doesn't even help. But it was hilarious.
She didn't want to get caught. She's like, I like what's happening right now.
But in her defense, she does catch herself fairly quickly. Like, she does stare, but she could have let that go on longer. Let's be
Let
real.
it go on for quite some time, but yeah, you're right.
She did, but yeah, like,
Mei only got to like a shin and a calf. She didn't get to both legs. So before I was like, I'm here.
then you like kind of see her debating internally, like, what do I do? Like, I know I have to tell her, but like, how? Like, how do
Seriously.
I let her know that I was watching her?
Right. Like this is getting more awkward by the second. What do I do? Yeah, it's really funny. She's just so adorably awkward, I swear to God. It's so funny. But yeah, I love when she like alerts Mei to her presence. She's like, yes, and then she gets up and starts moving around. Like, what was she doing? She'd be like, I just arrived, Mei. Mei, who knows the complete layout of this room, and I is coming from the side of the bed where the entrance to the room is not. So like, she was obviously in the room the whole time. Like, there was no playing this off, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yes, the way she comes over, like, she is making, like, talking while she's walking over. So there's no way that Mei wouldn't know where she's coming from.
Right.
I mean, which is only an issue if Mei wasn't expecting her to still be there.
Which is not the case.
And that's also like kind of the whole plot of the show. Like, it's only okay because Mei knows what's going on.
Yes. Mei consented to I watching her put lotion on her legs before I consented to it.
Mei consented to I.
Literally, yes. She consented to all of this stuff with I. And it's obvious because Mei's completely unfazed. Like when I is like awkwardly like, I'm in the room, Mei, basically by making noise. Mei just keeps rubbing the lotion into her legs like it's super normal. Like this is totally normal. Oom does this all the time.
She doesn't get startled at all.
No, but I do wonder, like, internally, is Mei nervous at all? Because I is like seeing more skin on display than she's ever shown. Like, she's basically showing I, like, her lower body, essentially, like, for the first time. And she can't gauge the reaction, but, like, I wonder if she is a little nervous to, like, actually go through with this. I mean, she's clearly confident. It doesn't show it, but we've all seen she's a good liar. So, like, this is a poker face from Mei.
But now that you say that, we do get to the point where she laid down in bed with her the first time, and she looked nervous. So
that's what I mean.
That is very.
She's getting more vulnerable with I, is what I mean, and like, I wonder if Mei is like nervous a little bit about that. She definitely doesn't show it though. But I, again, to your point, how do I handle this sexual situation? So I decides to pick the most least sexual thing ever to bring up. And she's like, tell me about your dad, Mei. Tell me about your family. Like,
this is the best time to bring that up, right?
Yeah, she's like, let's put cold water on this whole situation. Tell me about your family, which seems to distress you. That's why I think it's really funny. Again, she didn't bring it up earlier. She brings it up now during this like sexual tension moment. That's when I's like, your family, Mei.
Mei has to be like, darn it. I
know.
I was over here really trying.
She's flirting with her. She's like, damn it, why would you do this now? Because she flips the conversation around really fast. Be like, no, Mei. Or no, we're going to go out on a date. This is date talk, not family talk.
But Mei explains that her dad doesn't handle it well, that she has a girlfriend, and that's why you're a secret. Okay, so she says, he doesn't handle it well that I have a girlfriend. That's why you're a secret. So, unless I'm not remembering something, it's an interesting choice of words because, and it may be a translation error too, if the dad knows she has a girlfriend, but I is a secret, that means, I'm trying to figure out the right words to say this. Is this making sense?
It does. I think what you're saying is like, because it's translated in present tense, like I have a girlfriend, then that means the dad would know who she's dating. And so if she's saying you're a secret, it makes it like less plausible
it's not
that
I.
it's Oom.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's like, again, a translation thing to be like, he doesn't handle it well that I date women. And so like, that's why our relationship is a secret.
That's what I was
But
saying. Like, it had to be
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, but also like, or it could be a tip to I that like our relationship was hidden for this reason. Because again, I is like, why did Oom never mention this? So I wonder if like this is more of information for I to put the Oom Mei relationship into context, to be like, we were closeted because of my dad, who's obviously very powerful. You know.
Yeah. Thank you for your insight.
But yeah, I again, when Mei is like spoon feeding her information, I does not put it like, does not think it's weird that like she's explaining their quote relationship in explicit detail. Be like, well, remember, I was like, I remember, got it. I said really bad spot.
That there's no doubt about that. However, Mei is really good at what she does, and
So
she starts
good.
talking in double meanings again.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "And our relationship hasn't been great lately," which causes I to ask for clarification. If Mei is talking about the relationship with her father or with her. I mean, the answer is both. Like, the answer is
Yes.
both. She says that.
Yeah. And then she keeps kind of going with like she being Mei with this kind of comparison where she compares her relationship with her father with the relationship with and it's like kind of Freudian a little bit, but like we'll kind of go with it. And her explanation is basically that the relationship is strained and awkward after the truth is revealed, which is true to both relationships. Like once the truth of who Mei is comes out to her father, their relationship gets fucking weird and toxic and more toxic and terrible. Same thing with because when the truth of I'm in love with your twin came out, shit got real awkward with And I do wonder though, like when I asked her something about it, and then Mei says, "You never like telling me the truth." And then I do wonder, like, who exactly is Mei talking about in this line? Because again, this is all double meaning. Like, is she talking about I herself? Because like, no one's telling anybody the truth in this scene.
She's talking about Pluto, the whole show.
Pluto, yeah, exactly.
I mean, she's definitely enjoying playing with her words because,
for sure,
again, I's not telling her the truth. She knows that. But again, no one's telling the truth.
No, and that's so like, yeah, so this like on the surface this line reads as like it's about like didn't tell her the truth. But I also wonder if like this is like some information for I again to put together the and Mei situation, because I has been like wondering, like I has been on this journey of learning all of these secrets about her sister and being like, what the fuck, you never told anybody, meaning me, about any of this. And like here's Mei being like, your sister was super secretive. Like, yeah, our relationship was secretive because of my dad, but then like was never truthful with me. Like that's a lot for I to learn about you know, because like she's been suspecting that Oom's had secrets, and then like to have the girlfriend confirm it, that's something.
That's true too. I feel like there's still guilt there for herself because she knows she's not telling her the truth.
For sure.
And it's very layered.
Exactly. It's very layered, which is fun. So then Mei continues the flirting, and when I asks, I can't get over the fact that told Mei to fuck off, and then she came back as to like break up with her, and Mei immediately forgave quote for like leaving her basically. So I asked again, she's like, well, like you forgave basically after you, like I told you to leave or whatever. And Mei Again, at this stage, I was sitting on like the edge of the bed, and then Mei was sitting on the chair where she was putting the lotion on. And so I was like, well, basically, like, you forgave me so easily. Like, it's still weird. Mei gets up, perfectly locates Ai on the bed, and then like leans into Ai's space and puts one hand on Ai's thigh for, quote, balance.
Well, yeah, Theora, because the thigh is much more stable than the shoulder.
Well, she had one hand on the shoulder,
Yeah,
another one on
she
the...
did,
She did both. But yeah, you're right.
Because you need all the stability. I thought she
all the
put
stability.
her hand and then put...
Left hand on the shoulder, right hand's on the thigh. So Ai's trapped, basically. And then she tells Ai the reason she could forgive her so easily is because I love you. Okay, and then Ai, who's been suspecting that a lot of love is coming from Mei, like, gets that verbally said out loud and confirmed. And Ai just like melts in that moment. Because, like I said, like, Mei's love has been this constant undercurrent in every interaction that they've had so far. And that is the thing that has clouded Ai's judgment since the very beginning when it comes to Mei. It's that love that she feels constantly. And at this point, she is clinging to the fact that this love for, like, air quotes. But in this scene, it's so hard and near impossible for Ai to, like, not feel the actual love Mei is directing at her. Especially when the bitch has got a grip on your thigh. Like, I was a goner in this scene.
That's really what it was. Like, she's like, I'm gonna have you as close as possible, hands all over you.
Intimately.
Really get you to realize I am speaking to you.
And what I'm saying is that Mei has mad game and Ai falls for it every fucking time. Every time. But then they get this like wide shot of them in the room. And if you look at Ai's body language, it's still, she's like, yes, trapped where Mei is holding her, but like she's leaning as far back from Mei as she possibly can by like being in Mei's grip. Because the deception and is still the gap between them at this point. And I think Ai is still very conscious of both of those things and is like restraining herself basically from like believing fully that this is about her, even though I think she feels like it is. It's like her feelings and her brain are battling in this scene, essentially.
Yes. Also, this is a lot. There's a little bit of gay panic there.
So much gay panic. Her hand is on her thigh.
Yes, that is.
And as the girlfriend, it'd be weird to be like, please don't touch me there.
There's already a lot going on in her brain, but now it's just short-circuiting while trying to figure out everything, and it's too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, so then we head over to Ai and Peng talking while planting stuff in Peng's garden. And Ai is telling Peng about how Mei kissed her the day they first met. And Mei must really love to do that. And I mean, if this was really the scenario she thought she was going into, it wouldn't be out of place. Like, is her girlfriend, even if they... Like, she didn't even know that and her weren't in a great place. Like, she thought that they were together.
Yeah, it like, again, the whole situation is weird because they were together after got married, and then was like, go break up with her for me. So like, I think, like, what did I think she was gonna walk into exactly? Like, did she think that Mei hated to your point, as far
any thoughts were going on in her head.
No. Well, the minute she saw Mei, all the thoughts were gone. All of them.
She was probably just like, I can't believe I have to do this. Didn't think about anything.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she saw Mei, all thoughts were just out and
gone. And yeah,
because like that's not really weird. They haven't seen each other in a little bit. I don't know.
I didn't even know that. Like, what did Jan tell her? Like, what did I actually know going into that scenario? Well, I don't think she knew anything at all. So it wouldn't be weird to get kissed, but
It really wouldn't.
no, it wouldn't be weird at all. But she's again, this is I snitching on herself because she's so fixated on the love she feels from Mei that's there for So which I can keep saying is something that I is envious of. She's envious of all this love that just gets thrown at Well, meanwhile, she's like craving it for herself, and nobody seems to direct it just at her. It's always And so I think she's jealous and fixated on that part of this whole fuckery that's happening with Mei.
Yeah, because like, it can't be her.
Right. That's literally what this is. And also, like, it didn't hit me that this is a flashback. So while Mei, in the interim of Mei, being like, I love you. And then I think what happened was she's like, I love you. And then she went to go get changed. And then Ai is having this flashback or the journal entry. She puts it here. She's like, let me put things into perspective, Mei. I was talking with my bestie and so fixated on that love you be throwing at me.
Wow, now I feel stupid. I did not catch that was a flashback
No, me either.
at all.
It took me like 4 times of watching this to realize this was a flashback. Because the next part didn't make sense. I was like, why is I wearing the same clothes as when they...
I don't pay attention to the clothing. You do. So I thought this was just another day.
Yeah, I thought so too. It just doesn't feel like a flashback. It's a flashback. It took me a while to figure that out because I was just like,
oh my
did they have this conversation off screen after I gay panicked about the legs? Because then because then Mei gets changed. That's the next step after the lotion. And so like this is a flashback.
Oh,
like,
that makes so much more sense.
It took me a while.
Well, shit. Okay. Well, let's continue with this flashback. So Peng seems really offended that Mei kissed Ai the moment she saw her.
Yes. Like, damn, why did I do that?
And so Peng's like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. Let's just keep going with Mei is behind it. So Peng asks Ai if Mei really loves or if she was just pretending, and continues to say, Peng continues to say that she thinks Mei went overboard because she's scared of getting caught. Why is it weird that she would kiss her girlfriend?
Listen, right? No, exactly. Okay, Jan, we can give some grace to because she knows what's actually happening and that Mei knows this is Ai. But Peng has no idea. I think Peng is like, why is Peng obsessed with the fact that like Mei is deceiving Ai when Mei was her girlfriend? Like, that's not that weird if you don't know the history of Mei and actually, like Jan does.
I'll get into why she's trying to do this, but
I mean,
the way that she went about it,
she has ulterior motives, but it's not that weird.
The way she went about it is not the right way because it's not weird. However,
it's not weird.
For some reason, you both think it is.
Well, yeah. I don't. Right. She kissed me. She kissed her girlfriend of X amount of time she has engagement rings with. It's not that weird. Anyway.
And of course, Peg continues on by saying if Mei knew I wasn't she would become a suspect. And the look that Ai gives Peng.
Oh my god.
If looks could kill, man.
Seriously.
Oh, she is pissed. How dare... Because now there are 2 people in her life being like, oh, this person is deceiving you. She's out for herself. She's nefarious. And I was like, oh, you're still going with that theory? Which makes Peng so confused by this, her reaction to this, and asks her, aren't you looking into it yourself? Why are you asking me that?
Yeah, because she's like, you're still pretending to be to get intel, right?
Because that is what she left Peng's apartment in the last episode saying. Yes. I'm going to go back there and pretend to be I'm going to figure this out.
Okay, Ai.
So now not only does Peng know Ai is catching feelings, now, like, Ai isn't even telling her everything that's going on, which has to hurt her because Ai is conveniently leaving out the parts where she is forgetting that she's not actually Oom.
Right. She sure
And
is.
you bring it up later in the episode, but you had me watch the music video for what
A
was it again?
Princess's Tale, the OST.
Yeah, Princess's Tale. And this whole thing, like the situation is kind of like that music video. Like she's supposed to kill her target, but then ended up falling for her and losing track of the mission.
Yeah, it's so good. So
And
good.
so Peng lists everything out for her. And she's like, "You met her once. She kissed you, and now you think she loves you? Are you crazy?" And I'm like,
Yes.
I mean, minus the kissing part, that is how it went for Mei. I mean, she did get life advice that changed her life, but
Yeah.
one glance was really all it took. And you should know Peng. Like,
Well, it's like, we'll get into it when we get to that scene, but for Mei, it was more like somebody sees me. Because I saw her and was like, girl, you need to defend yourself. Like, don't let them bully you. Like, stand up for yourself, do something. Like, she saw Mei as a person and like spoke to her, and like nobody had done that. Everybody was like, she's the rich girl. She's just like this nerdy suck up or whatever. And but I saw her as a person. That was the thing that changed her. And then here's Ai, like, and that's the thing that Mei needed at that time. And then here's Ai, who wants and needs to be loved, and then Mei is willingly giving it to her, and that's where the conflict comes from, where she's like, but then she's like, why is it always for fucking Oom? And Oom was gonna throw it away, like, and she just can't get over that. She's like, if I had this, I would never let it go. And like, here's Oom, who had two people who were like throwing love at her, and she's just, I think she's pissed off at that.
that's fair.
But yeah, like Peng, it's not that weird for she was pretending to be her sister. Is it really that weird that Mei did any of these things? It's not.
It's really not.
Peng's just jealous.
Peng, a part of Peng needs Mei to be the bad person.
I
Because
agree. Yes, you're right.
then because if May's the bad person, Peng doesn't have to feel guilty for hating and resenting her being with Ai right now.
Yeah. Now, all of Peng's stuff in this conversation is that she's like, first of all, you kissed a girl. What the fuck? I don't care if it was under the Disguise or not. Why couldn't it have been me? Which she says later. And then she's like mad that like here's I like completely changing right in front of her because of this girl. And so Peng is just extremely jealous in this conversation. Like, yeah, she's worried about her friend too. She's like, girl, you could be getting deceived and played. But also she's like, what the fuck? You fell so easily for this woman. What the fuck, I've been here the whole time. That's what her energy is in this scene. But you're
Yeah,
right.
and
I love that you said Peng needs Mei to be the villain, because Peng views her as the villain. And it's like, you also have to see her as the villain.
I mean, she immediately jumped to she's the bad person here, because that's the easiest thing to. It's like, oh, I'm not jealous. That's a bad person for you.
Right. In Peng's brain, it's You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. She's like, can't you see that I'm the one who...
Oh, see.
I know, I forgot the words too. Don't judge us, Pooja.
Sorry, Pooja. It's the most common song, too.
I know. We suck. Anyway, let's keep going with this conversation.
No, because now you have my brain like, I need to figure it out. All right, but...
Oh, can't you see that I'm the one that understands you? Like, that's basically Peng's energy in this scene.
Yeah. I had something and now I forgot it.
I'm sorry.
It was something about Peng.
Oh, Peng.
Yeah, it was... Okay, I know what it was. It was... sorry. it's easier for Peng to deal with her own feelings when I isn't really with anybody. But now that, oh, Mei's here, it was a possibility. So it's easier for her to deal with her feelings, never thinking that it wasn't actually a possibility. And so now that Mei's here, it's hurting her and really getting to her.
Yeah, because it's not that I is falling for somebody, it's that I is falling for a woman. And so she's like, well, what the fuck? Like, you were an option this whole time. Like, that was, and you never looked at me. Like, that's where this is all coming from. Which, like, relatable. Having feelings for your best friend sucks. It sucks.
And Ai doesn't know any of this is going on.
No, because I never knows what's going on, ever. She's clueless.
Again, the story of the show. Ai defends herself by telling Peng that it wasn't Mei kissing her that made her think all this. It was the feeling that told her it was real. And then she says, I can really sense that she truly loves Oom. And I think the reason she specifically says this is to remind herself that this love is supposed to be for Oom, though she does desperately want it to be for herself. But this is also really the first time Ai did something for herself. Because, yeah, she has some good things in her life, but for the most part, she has done things to make things easier for other people. And this once, she is actually being selfish and giving into what she wants. That's why she stares longer and didn't tell Mei that she was watching her put lotion on for a little while. This is the first time she really is being selfish, and it's like she's taking a little bit more and more each time because she's getting a taste of actually thinking of herself for the first time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. No, that's all very, very true. Because, like, that gets reinforced after we get out of the flashback, and then we cut back to Ai, who's waiting outside of Mei's closet, because Mei's changing now. Because that's, put lotion on, get out of the robe. And she's flipping out, obviously, because, like, Mei's naked in the other room. So she's, like, losing it, okay? And she's cracking under the weight of her Oom disguise, basically. And I think in this moment, she's struggling with her feelings for Mei, yes, but also like her loyalty to Oom. So to your point, she is being selfish, which is a test of her loyalty to Oom. But also like the feelings that she's having are also new. So she's also grappling with that too. Like what? She's never been interested in anybody the way she's interested in Mei, or had the feelings towards somebody that she's having for Mei. So she's like grappling with all these new things and being selfish, like you said, at Oom's expense, which makes it even worse, like in her brain. And I assume that, like, you brought up her feeling guilty, and I assume that the guilt has been going on with Ai since this, like, she's been having to cosplay as, like, Oom's alleged, cosplay with Oom's, alleged girlfriend at this point. Even though, like, the pieces of Oom and Mei make less sense every single day. The more you learn about them, the less sense they make. But
and then when you get the truth, it makes
it doesn't make much. Yeah, it still doesn't make sense. So like, I think Ai's just so consumed with guilt that like she cannot math the math that's not mathing, and just is like, I don't get it, because like again, Oom didn't break up with Mei until after the wedding, so that like implies that like Oom was holding on to Mei, right, and that Oom was the one that was initiating the breakup. So like. Which is confusing for Ai, who's like, who was actually not in love with who? And then she meets Mei and feels all this love coming from Mei that's directed at Oom. But then when Mei talks about her relationship with Oom, she's like, well, we had this big fight and you told me to leave, which sounds like a breakup.
Definitely.
Right? Sounds like Oom broke up with her, right? So should I feel guilty about any of this? Really? Because, like, Oom asked her to go and break up with Mei. So when it comes to, like, her loyalty towards Oom and feeling guilty, I mean, should she feel guilty towards Oom? Oom was like, please go break up with her. So, like, there should be no guilt on that side, but there seems to be some of that still.
That's a good thing to bring up again. Like, she was literally sent there to break up with her, so why is it a bad thing for her to... I mean, I guess because it's her sister's ex now, but she's not dating her.
But I think that... So I think there's that, but then the bigger thing that's more obvious right now is that, like, she's deceiving Mei because Mei thinks she's Oom.
Yeah.
And she's having feelings for herself, and then she's like, but she's clearly in love with Oom. Even though Oom was throwing her out like trash, she's still in love with Oom. But yeah, like, it's just... So I think Ai is like the devoted big sister, but then, like, is lying to Mei, and I think the lying to Mei is the part that's starting to outweigh all the Oom stuff at this stage, where she's like, she's throwing all this love at me, but it's not for me, it's for Oom, who didn't want her, and what is this, basically?
This is such a short scene with just her alone, but there is so much going on through her head between this, like, guiltiness and... I mean, again, when you brought up, like, these feelings are new, that is very important to keep in mind, too, because feelings are very confusing. I don't even understand it. Can you even understand feelings? What is feeling?
Right.
But the way she acts in this scene, too, reads to me as frustration. And I think she's just also frustrated that she's gotten this far in, still pretending to be Oom, not knowing where to go either. Like, how do you... It's like when she was trying to figure out how to let Mei know that she was staring at her, putting lotion on. Like, how do I get myself out of this? Like, how do you get out of this situation where you're lying to someone you're falling in love with?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's impossible. It's an impossible situation.
Oh, girl. So Mei then says Oom to get her attention to come in to help zip up her outfit. And the Mei's face when Ai goes to zip her up is proof that she picked this shirt just so she could get Ai closer to her.
Yes.
Another way to flirt with her, because put your hand really close to my back. Fill me up.
I have a whole thing about this, but yeah. Her face was just like, yay, Ai's close to me. Because that was for no one's benefit. That was just Mei's reaction. Like, ooh, Ai's nearby.
But also, Ai looks so defeated while she's zipping her up. And then goes on to ask her how she forgave her as soon as she came back. And
so fixated on that, too.
Yeah. And it's like she's forcefully trying to get her back into the mission because of Peng. So, like, it's that flashback was just in her head. So it still makes sense. The flashback's there playing in her head. So she needs to stick to the mission. Don't get distracted. And so a lot of times that Ai is forgetting that she's supposed to be Oom. In this scene, she's not. So everything Mei is saying to her is bittersweet because, yeah, they're very sweet things, but she knows they're not for her. She desperately wants it to be about her, but she knows they're for Oom, even though they're not. But
even though they're not. I know.
It's just always the caveat we have to put in there because they're not.
They're not. So funny. Okay, and then... Okay, so then Mei's response is amazing, where she's like, well, the way I feel is kind of like those songs on the radio. You ever hear songs where they're like love songs and they're like, you had me at hello? She's like, that's how I felt when we were reunited. That's also how Mei felt about Ai the first time they met, also. So, like, you had me at hello. It's basically Mei's point of view about their relationship. Which really doesn't answer Ai's question, because she's basically just like, it's love at first sight for me, and therefore everything you do is forgivable, which is not a super healthy way to navigate a relationship, if you really think about that. Like, Mei, if does some fucked up shit, it's okay to be mad at her. You don't need to forgive her. You can talk about it like adults.
Yes.
But anyway, so then after she delivers that line, that's when she fully turns around to face Ai. And then Ai gets the view from the front and is like, you dress up really nicely. So, Ai, this is flirting, what you're doing. Like, you're actively flirting with Mei right now. This is not part of the Oom Disguise. She walked into this scenario, okay? After having the flashback, being like, she's in love with Oom. Here's Ai, actively flirting back with Mei. So, like, you did this to yourself. So Mei, of course, flirts back because she's pleased that Ai finds her attractive, because that was the goal all along with these two scenes. So, because if you think about it, Mei is pulling out every power move she possibly can because she doesn't know if Ai is into her. She has no idea if she's Ai's type. She doesn't know that. She knows how she feels, and she knows that she's not in love with Oom. But, like, so there's still a level of uncertainty for Mei to navigate, even though she's like, oh, this is the one that changed my life. She doesn't know how I feel. So it's like, and Mei is doing everything she can to be like, are you into me? So let's think about what she just did. She's like, comes out of the bathroom and she's like, I'll just show Ai my legs really quickly under the guise of putting lotion on. So she's like, here's my legs. I'm putting lotion on. And then she's like, Ai, come into the closet. Please look at my bare back and my bra while you zip me up. And now look at the view from the front, Ai. If Mei could see, she would have bagged Ai on day one. That's all I'm saying, because, like, I stood no chance in any of these scenes. Like, Mei was, like, giving her a 360 view of everything and being like, do you like what you see, Ai? And then Ai's like, you dress up nicely. And then Ai responds as if she's into her, because she is. So Mei wins in this scene, basically. So what does Ai do? Ai calls her princess again. That's the nickname she just organically came up with for Mei. So she starts pet naming her. Like, Ai, you did all this to yourself. Nobody, this is not part of the mission. You're just doing this. But this time is really interesting. So the full line that she says is, you look like a princess fleeing her palace. So there's more imagery to the nickname than just the pet name she's gifting Mei. And this line struck me as really interesting. So if you take this line and couple that with in episode 1, when Mei kisses her and we get the poetry in Ai's brain of, like, their first kiss, you know, it's more evidence to me that Mei is Ai's muse. Okay. So this is something that's unconsciously happening to Ai, where she's coming alive when she's around Mei. And you can see it in this scene. She's glowing in this scene. And literally, like, in this scene when she's talking to Mei and she's like, you look like a princess, she's bouncing, like, on her heels. Like, she's like an excited child, right? And, like, we noticed a couple of times throughout this scene, like, she gets more playful when she's around Mei, and, like, the way she's describing this moment is very creative sounding. She's not just being like, yeah, you look hot. She's, like, poetically describing Mei in the scene. And the more time she spends with Mei, the more this kind of part of her personality comes out. And what I love, too, about the conclusion of this little dialogue that they're having is that we get a glimpse of how Mei really does compliment Ai. Not only does she inspire Ai unconsciously, she also compliments Ai because she plays right along with this story that Ai is saying on the spot. She's like, oh, you're the princess fleeing the palace. And then Mei basically says, well, you better wear a crown and be my prince, is basically what she says. And so, like, she's playing along with this story that Ai is fan fictioning right in front of her. And I love this because Mei is basically not only the person that plants the seed, reignites Ai's passion for storytelling, she also is the muse that gets Ai to tell her own stories again. And, like, it kind of comes out of the princess fairy tale imagery she's crafting with Mei, which later translates to the actual novel that she writes. So I thought that was really cute and a clever way to do that.
Just a really great way for them to bond too.
It's really cute.
Goes back to your like storytelling bonds you, and they're really cute.
They're super fucking cute.
And then we go to where Ai is supposed to help Mei put on her makeup. But first we make sure to get a shot. Yeah. We make sure to get a shot of the countless candles that are lit around the room, which begs the question once more. Who lit the candles?
Seriously, who is lighting all these fucking candles on the Thai girl love shows? Who lights them? They're not big candles.
The other question is, what is the candle budget?
Valid.
But also, just a quick shout out to Patreon member WhiteCat112, who asked for Who Lit the Candles merch. Ask and you shall receive, merch coming soon. We already picked out the candles, so that's the progress so far. But back to the makeup scene. I love how much Ai is freaking out about having to do Mei's makeup because she's worried about making it ugly. And it's just, she's not a huge makeup person.
No.
And so it's like, you don't really work with makeup much. And then you're asked to put it on someone else. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I would not know what to do. I'm like, sure, I think this goes here.
Yeah, this is Ai being honest because like Oom is a makeup girly, so like Oom would have no issue with this, but Ai's like, I'm not Oom, so what if I fuck it up, Mei? What if I fuck it up? And of course, Mei, who's just like, I don't really care what you do. I just want you near me and to stare at me. And she's like, as long as I'm pretty to you, that's all that matters. And if I was smooth, she would have been like, then you don't need makeup. You're beautiful no matter what. But
that would have been perfect.
Ai is not at that level of smoothness. So instead, she like keeps going with the princess thing where she tells her you're a sweet talker, princess, which like, she's a lawyer. She's obviously a sweet talker, but like, anyway, she keeps running with the princess story, which I think is important because this is another interaction where Ai is literally being Ai. Like, she's not being Oom. She's being Ai. She's crafting this fairy tale about the two of them as they're living their life, which is a very creative minded thing to do. Oom would never, is what I'm saying. And then, okay, so then Ai's like, okay, I guess I'll give this a shot. And so she like, this would have been a great product placement scene. I'm also surprised this wasn't, but.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
They've done multiple things now in this episode that prove that they could have.
You could have.
Yeah. Did natural product placements within the episode.
Yeah. But anyway, here we are. So Ai goes to like do Mei's eyebrows essentially, and Mei is like, "Oh, okay, great, we're starting," and then just cannot help herself, and like she grabs onto Ai's leg again. It's like, girl, was this necessary? That's what I'm saying. Like any excuse to just feel up Ai, she's like, "Yep, I'm blind, Ai. I'm blind. I don't." Like she just takes advantage of that so much, and Ai's like, "She's blind. Yes, it's fine." There was no need for that, other than Mei wanted to touch Ai, which is valid. I just find it really funny that Ai does not clock any of that. She's like, I guess this is what blind people do. Mei's just trying to feel her up. That's so funny.
It's just a Mei thing. But
so
you know, funny. It's a Mei gay thing.
A Mei gay thing. Oh my god. So, of course, when putting someone's makeup on, you have to lean a breath away from their face while you're doing it. So Ai starts doing that. And then the OST you mentioned earlier, A Princess's Tale, starts playing. This is the first time we hear it in the show, which is why I brought it up here. So it plays in this scene, which the lead up to this scene is the whole you're a princess running away. And Ai keeps calling her a princess. And then as the song is playing, she's like, Mei really did become a princess for me. I'm putting her crown on and like all this stuff. So she's writing the fairy tale of the two of them as the song is playing. And if you listen to that song and or watch the music video, like it's basically about this. So I'm like, did Ai's brain manifest this song and the music video is my question. Because it's very like a story that's being told about these two women, but in a fantastical way.
I mean, yeah, because we hear like journal entries going on underneath scenes like this, so maybe that's a really good catch too.
Yeah, because like you said, like what was it about? It was about like my duty is to like take out this woman from Ai's point of view, and then like she does it because she falls in love with her and like gives up the mission. And it's basically like literally what ends up happening with Ai and Mei, and I think what her first novel was about in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I say in the show because in this novel it's another story, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah. By the way, I was not ready for this music video and how it opens.
Oh my god, no! My first thought.
Good.
So,
oh my god.
Theodore told me to watch it, so I watched. I'm not a music video person, so I don't typically watch these things. And I immediately, when it started, I'm like, oh. And then I was like, what in the bodyguard AU is this?
Yeah. So if you haven't, we won't spoil it. Go watch the music video because I wasn't ready for how this opened, and I was like, what is this? Where is this show? But then it's like I'm pretty sure this is Ai's brain manifesting her and Mei's story as a music video because it pops up here when she's manifesting that story about them. Anyway, you're welcome if you haven't seen it. Go watch that music video. It's fantastic.
It is.
Okay, so back to the scene. So during this makeup tutorial, I guess, Ai mentions in the journal entry, basically, that's the voiceover, that Mei became a princess in her mind. So like a princess is like special, precious, powerful, coveted, all those kinds of things. And she clarifies not because she's hot and has money, that's just a bonus. It's because Mei has this rare virtue that Ai hasn't encountered in another person before. So it's like, again, confirmation that like Ai sees Mei like for who she is. It has nothing to do with like how Mei looks on paper, like the superficial stuff. Like it's about who Mei is as a person. That's what Ai is like attracted to and cannot get out of her head. But I like wonder like what is the virtue exactly she's talking about because she doesn't elaborate on that.
That's a good question. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what she's talking about. I think it's like it could be Mei's kindness, Mei's like willingness to like express love that a lot of people don't do. Her vulnerability with Ai, like I'm not entirely sure what exactly the virtue is, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what she means, but the thing is, Mei's not fully being herself with Ai because she's not telling her everything. So I'm like, is even what she thinks right now true? I mean, okay, so I'm going to be stupid for a second. Can you tell me what virtue means?
Virtue is like a quality.
Okay. So maybe just like the strength she has. Like the strength to keep going.
It could be that. Mei has a lot of, if that's what the virtue is, the irony is the strength came from Ai. So Ai's in love with herself. You heard it here first, folks.
But
no, it could be that, her strength.
Mei had to want to take on that enough to change and be that strong person. So it is who she was. She just needed that encouragement.
Right. Ai was her muse in a way. That's what makes them fun. Ai was the muse to like defend yourself. And then Mei's Ai's muse to like be creative. So okay.
Those things that they need.
I know. They're compliments, which makes them fun. So in this scene, Ai for sure has feelings for Mei. Like she cannot stop smiling. She's so focused on Mei. She stares at her lips for like at least 10 seconds.
It's so
And
obvious.
it's so obvious. It's shame Mei can't see. And she says in the voiceover that she was starting to believe that Mei is a gift that gave her, which is true. And the full line is, without realizing it, I became selfish, to your point, caught up in the idea that Mei is a gift Oom had given to me.
I mean, and again, it literally happened, and it's still insane that that is what happened.
I know. I can't get over that is actually the plot, but it is. My favorite part of this interaction, there's a lot of fun stuff in here, but my favorite part is when I starts staring at when eyes gaze drop to Mei's lips. She's not even doing anything with the makeup anymore. Like, the makeup is just like, she's not even doing anything. She's just holding it against Mei's hair and is just staring at her mouth. And it's like, girl, Mei.
Maybe that's a way for Mei to, because like Mei can't see her staring at her lips, but because she stops, maybe Mei can.
Well, Mei can't feel her putting the eyebrow makeup on anymore. So like, I just stopped and it doesn't say anything.
Well, yeah, it's confusing, but I don't know if she'd still sense that she's close. Because like she didn't like go away or anything or shift anything, so she's still staring at her. So I'm like, maybe that's her indication that, oh, maybe she's staring somewhere else then.
I think that's what Mei is left to infer. Because, like again, like the brush is against her hair. So, like, Mei can still kind of feel eyes near her. And I think her hands resting on her chin for, like, precision.
Yeah.
And, like, no, eyes just staring very gaily at Mei. Not doing the makeup. And it's just, what an icon. Because, like, girl, like, what was that? And then Mei, like, to your point, must know.
That has to be so frustrating for Mei, though, because, yeah, she might know, but she can never know for sure.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. And it's just amazing that Mei, who must be dying to know what Ai is doing, cannot know. And like, she doesn't show it though. She doesn't, if she's frustrated, she doesn't show it, which like the amount of control and restraint from Mei is remarkable if that is indeed what is going on with Mei, which it has to be.
And like, Ai isn't very good at really communicating how she's feeling. She's very body language. Yeah, she can't. But she's very much action oriented rather than verbalize everything. So that is something that she would have to change and adapt to for Mei to actually understand what is happening. I mean, luckily, spoiler alert, I mean, you know exactly because you watch the show. But also Mei is able to see her again later. So that's helpful. But yeah, it has to be super frustrating.
I mean, Mei does smile a lot, so I think maybe she's just hoping Ai staring at her, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope and just being like,
right. It's a lot of
confidence in her that I can't resist.
Yes. Confidence is an attractive quality. That is true. That is true.
But I was definitely had to be staring at Mei's lips for so long because we crossfade from this scene into the next one. So the only plausible explanation is that we were doing this for at least 10 minutes, right?
At least. That's valid. Like, Ai doesn't know how to put makeup on to begin with, and then she doesn't have any thoughts in this scene. They're gone now.
No thoughts, just gay.
No thoughts, just gay.
So they go from this staring scene where, again, Mei doesn't actually know what's happening to Ai and Mei sneaking out of Mei's house. And I love how Mei is just walking normally, while Ai is the one like trying to duck down a little bit so Tan doesn't see them leave. And I mean, like, Mei is rightfully so not ducking because it doesn't do anything. It's not like Ai is crouching down very low to like be very sneaky. It's very slight ducking down. Also, Tan's back is towards them,
I
so
know.
it doesn't matter.
Listen, I was trying to be a secret agent.
Yeah.
She's
it
bad
makes
at
you
it.
feel like a better spy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, fine. You do what you have to do.
Dun, 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 dun. She had the Mission Impossible music in her brain when she was doing this. And May's like, he can't stop me. It's fine. Anyway, so yeah, they walk past him, and then the key information from Tan is that Tan is on the phone with May's dad, and basically he is the one, because of confirmation, he is the one keeping tabs on her and reporting it back to her father.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. But he's also like talking about her health and treatment without Mei being in the room. So it's like one thing to be controlling with her present, but it's even more disrespectful for her not even to be in the room to know what you're talking about in regards to her own body.
Yeah, Tan is not painted as a great person or a benevolent person in this episode.
No.
Or at least this part of the episode.
When we're introduced to him, we're led to believe this is one of the worst people. Also, like, from previous shows, that's usually how it goes, so we're like fully on board with that.
Yeah. All right, then they Mission Impossible their way into the garage, basically, and Mei realizes that Ai is leading her out of the garage, and she's like, wait, girl, aren't we gonna take I thought when you hatched this plan, we were gonna get in my chariot, aka one of the cars in the garage. Why are we leaving? Because she looks real nervous about this. And Ai's like, girl, that would be, again, street smart Ai's like, if we steal a car, he's gonna know what we did, and it's easier to track us or whatever, so we can't do that. We gotta disappear into the night or whatever, like Batman or some shit. And Mei looks genuinely nervous when Ai says this.
And because Mei might not be afraid to go about life normally, because again, that's part of her argument that she doesn't have to move home. But it doesn't mean that if she can avoid an unknown situation, she's not going to. Like, this.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously better for her to not go into an unknown situation if she doesn't have to. But Ai is telling her that it's necessary right now.
Yeah, so for Mei, for like all her bravado of being like, I'm a strong, independent woman, like it is scary for her to go outside and be disabled in an able-bodied world, basically. Like, it is difficult and does make Mei feel othered and all this kind of stuff that we'll get into. Like, the next half of the episode is basically about like we get to walk in her shoes a little bit as what it's like to be disabled in Thailand, essentially. It's kind of like the gist of the next episode, but like we're leading up to that, and you can see that Mei is unnerved by having to do that. And I think that Ai notices Mei's uneasy because Ai's body language completely shifts the minute she recognizes it. And thanks to our conversation earlier with Tan, Ai knows, again, in her brain knows now, Mei doesn't leave the mansion often. So she is an empathetic person and towards people she cares about. So I think she's like, oh, Mei is nervous. I have to make her not feel nervous. So, like, to your point, and, you know, Nam Tam is a full body actor. So what does Ai do in this situation? So she shows Mei with her body language, which again, Mei can't see, but this is a reflection of Ai's feelings. What Ai does is she gets low, like she gets on Mei's eye level, even like slightly lower, but she's trying to get on Mei's level. So she leans close until their eyes are level and takes both of Mei's hands to like show her with her body, like it's like I'm with you is what she's doing, like with her body language, by grabbing her hands and getting them at eye levels, being like, I'm not talking down to you. I'm with you. I'm on your level. Like, she does that with her body, which again, Mei can't see, but.
Yeah, she's making sure that they're on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
Because part of it is Ai here is telling Mei what to do. And she doesn't want Mei to feel like she is undermining what she wants. She wants her to know that that she does understand where she's coming from. Like, just, this is why they can't take the car. So by her doing this, she's connecting with her and making sure that she knows that she's coming from a good place, rather than the controlling people in her life that are like,
Yes.
no, you can't do that.
Yeah. Because that's a good point, because I just saw what her family is like. Her cousin seems controlling, the dad seems controlling. So yeah, I is trying to separate that and be like, I'm not trying to control you. It's just that I'm more street smart in this scenario. Please listen to me. Is basically what she's doing. Which is, it's really sweet coming from Ai. And after Ai does that, we get this really quick shot before Mei starts responding, where Mei leans into Ai's space, and the shot is basically very washed out with this white light. And it's real quick before we like go back to like the other shot we were looking at. And to me, it feels like this dream-like quality, because this is part of the fantasy, right? That's like think about it. It's like I got the princess, they snuck out of the castle past the guards, and now like they have to just get past the gate so they can go on their magical adventure. And so it looks fantastical, because that's the lead up of the story. They're going on an adventure, basically, according to Ai's brain. And Mei jumped into the fantasy with Ai, and is basically like tells her, like, with you, I'm willing to go anywhere, which is true. And, how fantastical to hear. And then Ai is like the biggest confidence boost ever, which is Mei basically being like, I trust you implicitly, Ai, basically. Which I don't think anybody really trusts Ai, like, or she doesn't feel trust, like, full trust from a lot of people. So, like, this meant a lot. This person who cannot navigate outside of these castle walls without her is basically saying, like, but I trust you to take me out there. Like, that's what a level of trust that she's feeling. And so Ai smiles, and then I love the way she gets all playful when they're going to leave, and she like turns around like a soldier, like a knight or whatever in shining armor, like gets Mei's arm and is like, narrow hallway, let's go, like, and like leads her out with all she stands up straight for like the first time ever. And it's really cute to see Ai respond to that from Mei. And it's just Mei telling her, like, I trust you. That's all it took. And it was like, Ai like glows the minute she hears that, and just gets all playful and back into like the knight in shining armor role, which is really cute.
It's kind of like, I mean, the way you said that, like, no one really trusts her.
No,
but
not
with
fully.
Mei fully. And with Mei saying this one thing, it really changed her demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going back to how you were talking about that Ai's advice to Mei, like, changed her trajectory in life. Like, this, again, it's just going back to they complement each other.
They do.
They really make each other better.
They do.
They don't knock each other down like some relationships. So while these two are heading to the bus stop, we go over to, I actually don't know whose place we're in.
I think we're at Peng's place, and like Peng is still in bed sleeping, and Officer Hottie's like, girl, I gotta go work.
But this is where we learn that Officer Hottie and Peng are together. Which, mind blown the first time we watched it.
Okay, and like it starts with Officer Hottie being like, checking Peng's phone. So like they've been together for a while. That's like level of trust. And she checks the text that comes through, and it's from Ai. And Ai's like, I'm gonna take Mei to your shop because there's lots of trees. And I was reading this and I was like, is Ai taking her there hoping Mei would like run into trees? Like, to test the blindness there? Like, what was like the like, with out of context, the text reads is really weird, because in Peng's brain they're still doing the is Mei nefarious. They're still kind of like Peng at least is on that page, but I was like, this is a really weird thing to bring up. So it kind of like it could read like that from Peng, who still thinks Mei is suspicious. Ai clarifies later in the episode that's not why she said that. She's like, I thought trees would be peaceful, but like when you read this from Peng's point of view, she'd be like, oh yeah, testing the blindness. Got it, Ai. Because like this is so weird the way she phrased it with no context.
The wording is just weird in general, but I have to say this is another moment where I've watched this multiple times, and momentarily forgot about that the second scene.
Yeah, no, me too. And I was like,
I keep not
what?
reading the lots of trees line.
Yes, I missed that
And
line.
and so when I looked at the notes, I was dying. I was like, oh my god. I And right now, I mean, it does seem to Pang that it's like Ai's way of proving that she didn't forget about the mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least that Ai is playing the double agent um and like just she could be just making Pang think that, which still could be, and then she could just be like, oh no, they're peaceful. But no. I do feel for Peng a bit when she learns that Ai is taking Mei to her shop, because that, again, Ai doesn't know
I
about
know.
her
Pang.
feelings at this point
Yeah.
and is doing, oh my god, rubbing it in so bad.
I know. From Pang's point of view, that's what it must feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so rough. Like she's like fully flaunting it in front of her.
Yes. That's what it must feel like for Pang. Anyway. Yeah. So that's really shitty. And then basically Pang gets really absorbed in the mission because, like you said, Mei is her enemy for many reasons. And so she's like, okay, I'm gonna prove this, I'm gonna get into this, blah, blah. And then poor Officer Hottie's like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on in this conversation, but she's like trying to engage with Pang and like be affectionate and stuff. And like Pang ignores her. And it's like, Officer Hottie deserves so much better as a character. And I will stand by that. GMMTV, you did her so dirty in this show, and she deserves better.
That is very true. Because Pang doesn't give her the time of day.
No.
We never see Pang and Hottie at a place in the relationship where they are both in love. The rift is always there from when we see them. And
in the present, yeah.
Yeah, in the present. And Hottie, it just like it seems like is the filling the gap for her feelings for Ai. And Pang does at least let Officer Hottie in on the theory that she has that Mei is pretending to be blind. So she is very, very convinced about this theory that she's willing to tell Officer Hottie, but just other people in general. It's like this Mei is pretending.
I love that Officer Hottie's like, this sounds like a fantasy. Because, yeah, it sounds made up and fantastical. But then, like, Pang is clearly fixated on this. And I love that, like, poor Officer Hottie tries to be, like, the supportive girlfriend at the end. And she's like, well, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking to find, Pang. I hope you're happy with whatever happens. And she means it sincerely. She's being sincere about it. She's like, I hope this works out or whatever. Like, love you. Like, even though she clearly doesn't get it. She's like, this is weird. But whatever makes you happy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Officer Hottie, again, I feel bad. Just you deserve so much better.
So much
I focused
better.
more on Officer Hottie in this scene because we just saw like Pang and like what's going on.
Yeah, fair.
With her. So at one point, Hottie keeps grabbing her own arm. It's we see it twice and it's very quick, but grabbing your arm is a sign of anxiety or uneasiness, especially if it's tight. The way she does it, it kind of looks like she's holding her arm loosely, which could signal a need for comfort, which is definitely plausible considering that she repeatedly tries to get physical affection from Pang, but again, Pang is too focused on the mission. She's making up for Ai's lack of focus on the mission.
Yes.
Both are not good. I mean, the Ai situation, that's more complicated. But being absorbed into this is not going well for their relationship. And she puts her arm on her to be connected to her, like try to like break her out of this focus that she has on her phone and the conversation with Ai. And she does keep her hand connected most of the time while she's saying goodbye. And she also has to remind Peng that she is leaving multiple times.
Yep.
Because Peng barely reacts to her saying goodbye and that she's leaving. That the physical touch, she does not react at all. So
Nope.
it doesn't seem like Hottie is getting like any comfort from her in general, or any physical or emotional intimacy from her. So she's alone. She is alone in the scene, even though she's right next to Peng.
Yeah,
because Peng's too wrapped up in Ai.
Yeah, that hits the nail on the head. Like, it just, and again, seeing the scene earlier at work, she also seems like she's alone at work too. So I just feel really bad for Officer Hottie. She just feels she's a Pluto character. Again, she's a Pluto, which is unfortunate because she deserves better. And speaking of Pluto, so the last thing I kind of want to talk about with this scene is I want to talk about the concept of orbit that I brought up in the first episode as it relates to like the throuple that should have been, which was Peng, Officer Hottie, and Jan. So those three and how orbit plays into their relationship with each other. So in GMMTV land, the endgame ship is Peng and Jan. None of this happens in the novel. This is a purely GMMTV thing. And the reason we get to Peng and Jan as the endgame ship for GMMTV's version is that these three characters are all orbiting each other, and the Plutos of the show, Officer Hottie and Oom, are the ones that bring everybody together but then get forgotten in the end, which is so sad and heartbreaking, but that is literally what happens. And it's very subtle with this relationship here, the orbiting thing, but it does happen. So think about it. What we know up till now is that Jan is Oom's best friend, and her best friend gets into this possibly shady car accident. And Jan has been Oom's best friend for years, which means she's been peripherally in Ai's orbit. Okay, and Ai's orbit contains her best friend, Peng, right? So they've been like on the periphery of each other for a while. But then, so they don't naturally interact. So then what happens is, like, Jan goes after Oom's car accident case, and the person in charge is Officer Hottie, right? And Officer Hottie is dating Jan. So then, is dating Peng. So then, like, she brings, like, Jan into the mix with Peng a little bit. So then they're kind of, like, orbiting each other a little bit without interacting. And then you think about, like, yeah, Ai and her best friend, Peng. Okay, so then Ai gets brought into the mission with Officer Hottie because of the whole, like, car accident thing. And then through Ai, Peng gets involved in Oom's case, hence her investigating Mei, which is her girlfriend's case. It's weird they don't connect the dots in the scene that I'm talking about your case, but, like, again, because they're orbiting, but not, like, really colliding with each other. Nobody's colliding, and colliding is communicating. Okay? And then by meddling in this case on Ai's behalf, she then gets brought into Jan's orbit. And that's how Peng and Jan, like, interact. And then they start interacting more and more because Ai is like, you need to help me with Oom. And then, like, all of those shenanigans. And then they start interacting. And then Officer Hottie gets brought more into Jan. And, like, just the way these two keep, like, all these three of them keep, like, orbiting each other. And then, like, eventually Officer Hottie gets, like, kicked out of the solar system, and it's just Jan and Peng.
Yep, Pluto!
Like, she's Pluto. She's another Pluto, which is why I was so convinced that Officer Hottie and Oom were going to end up together, because I'm like, they're two Plutos that would get each other so well, and GMMTV did not give us that. But I wish they did.
This sounds like an orbiting murder board, Theora. That's...
No, it does, but, like, it's just fun to watch, like, their storylines, and it's like they get close to each other, but they don't ever quite meet, and then eventually they meet. That's what I mean by orbit. You can just see the way, like, they were in the periphery of each other's lives, but didn't realize it until, like, pivotal moments where, like, they come into contact, like Jan and Peng, and are like, oh. And then they don't, like, stay there. They, like, go back out, and then, like, Ai's like, no, back in the Oom drama and Officer Hottie's case, and then they come back, and, like, that's how they kind of keep meeting each other and interacting. So it's, like, interesting to see that. That's that, like, orbit concept.
Yeah, true. And to even show the orbit more, is with the next microscopic scene we get is with Jan texting Ai how she's going to see Officer Hottie again. So we just got the Officer Hottie and Peng scene, and now
exactly, that's what I mean. These back-to-back scenes are orbit. Yeah, you're just like, yeah, exactly.
It's because Theora is so good at seeing things like this.
GMMTV did this shit on purpose. Their screenwriters are brilliant.
So from the orbiting with the thruple. That's a messy situation later. We go to the bus ride, and so back to Ai and Mei. They are waiting for the bus, and as the bus is approaching, there is a handicap accessibility sticker that is conveniently placed on the windshield, so it gets bigger and bigger in the frame as the bus gets closer. And I just thought that was interesting. And on this bus ride, we see the biggest reason that Mei didn't want to deal with the bus and wanted to just take the car. And she tells Ai that she doesn't like riding the bus usually. So the ticket person comes up, and Ai tells him where they're going. He tells them 40 baht is the price, and that it's half price for the blind. And I love that he has to say that really loudly in the bus. Like, I mean, right? It is for the audience to know and like this whole conversation to happen. But okay. And then he asks for Mei's disabled person ID, which Mei refuses. And she argues that he can clearly see that she's blind. But he tells her that those are the rules. Like, he needs to see the ID in order to give her the discount for the ticket. And because there are lots of cons these days, which is valid because people do take advantage of things like this. And they will take advantage of anything if there's a loophole, lawyers. So
I know, right?
Mei is aware of that, but she's also having to deal with this on a daily basis of having to prove that she is disabled. So Mei is like, do I look like a con artist to you? And I love this line and why she says this, because this is bringing us back to the topic at hand too, and really sums up this entire episode, because it reminds Ai of her mission once more too. And while Mei is saying this, Ai puts her hand on Mei's thigh to comfort her. And part of me thinks that Ai is uncomfortable. This is the first time Ai is experiencing what Mei has to experience out in public. And also, Mei isn't afraid to have this confrontation. So I feel like she's just... Ai doesn't know how to act in the situation. Because for her, it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, here's my ID if someone asks for something, like, to verify age or anything, because that's what she's used to.
Right.
But this is Mei having to prove that what she is telling someone is true. What she is, like, physically disabled, like, the words have left.
It's like, so think about it. Like, leading up to this, Peng, her best friend, is still on this thing of like, I don't think she's really blind. I think you're being deceived. So then to go into this interaction where what Mei is going through is pretty humiliating, actually. At least that is how Mei feels about it. And I think I can see that or sense that a little bit, that like Mei is really agitated by this. So why on earth would she pretend to be blind to then put herself in this uncomfortable situation that makes her uncomfortable? So I think the whole Peng's theory is going out the window, even more so in Ai's brain, just watching this interaction. And then Ai is accidentally ableist after the dude goes away, and she's like, well, Mei, is it really that bad to show the, the disabled person ID card? Because like, you would have got the discount, that interaction would have been avoided if you had just shown the card, right? Like, show them your papers, basically, is what she's saying. And I love this conversation because it goes to show through Ai's point of view how able-bodied people take for granted how the world is easier to navigate in ways Ai doesn't even realize. Like, show me your papers. Like, that's very invasive, actually, and kind of fucked up, right? Because that's exactly what Mei says. Mei's like, do you have to show an ID to prove you're not disabled? Like, people don't believe you, or you have to show them your papers. Like, that's a second class citizen thing, is to like show me your papers, right? Like, that's what Mei's really getting at here. And what I love about Ai's reaction to this is she sits with what Mei says and like she listens and then processes it. Okay, because I don't think again, as an able-bodied person who's probably never interacted with another disabled person, I's never seen the world through that point of view. So it's just like you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. And so I's like, huh, like thinking about this for the very first time, which I assume is probably what happened to Mei when she became blind and had to start experiencing the world firsthand. As a non-able-bodied person, I was like, oh shit, like look at all these hurdles that I didn't even realize were right in front of me because I never saw them because they never applied to me. It's like that privilege thing. You just didn't realize you were privileged. And that's like I's learning that in this moment.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can't know what you don't know. Like you can't live that. So you don't really know how their lives are. But with being able to see it firsthand, like there's no denying that May's point is incredibly valid.
Yes.
And after this, I glances at her phone that's in her bag. And
It's
then
Mei's bag.
Is it May? Okay, it is May's
Yeah,
bag.
it's Mei's bag because she's
All right,
carrying
then
the
let's
stuff
throw
for
that
Mei.
whole thing out.
Yeah, so basically this is like back to the mission shot, because why is she here? Because they're, again, the plot with Jan is to call the number from the police report and prove that it was Mei. So she's figured out a scenario where she has Mei's phone and she's checking it to be like, is Jan gonna call? Is it Mei? So like, again, but it's not adding up, because like if Mei was bullshitting all this, why would she put herself in this situation that makes her uncomfortable? And like, she has a legitimate, but like it could be that like she doesn't have a disabled IDs card and she's lying about it and being defensive. Like, if it were Peng in the scenario, she'd be like, bitch, you don't have a card. Like, you know what I mean? You're faking. Like, you know, Peng would have handled this situation very differently if it was Peng and Mei.
Yeah, my first read was that I was like, oh, she doesn't want to show it. Maybe she isn't blind. But
It could be.
There's just so much going on. You can never know exactly what a character's thinking because they're not going to say it out loud.
It's very true.
We infer a lot on the podcast, just so people know.
Yeah,
but
no,
we use body language and other stuff like that.
Yeah, but we will, you know, the drama of is Mei or isn't she blind will continue when we get to the next part, when Peng does show up and we get a different scenario. But that concludes the first part of episode 2 of Pluto the series. You're welcome for this lengthy episode. Hope you enjoyed. Before we sign out, I think it's time to discuss Taylor Swift songs. So the 2 that I came up with that fit for this part of the episode are Today Was a Fairy Tale, which is Ai's Brain. Ai's Brain wrote that when Mei asked her out. She wrote that whole song because today was a fairy tale. Like, then she calls her princess, all that stuff. So that's Ai's Brain. And then I have to give it up for Mei. Her song is Fearless, because in My Best Dress Fearless, because she stands up to her cousin. She was honest with Ai in front of Ai about her family for the first time. She was truly honest. Her flirting hardcore with Ai, fucking fearless. And then her literally like getting her best clothes on to go out on an adventure with Ai in My Best Dress Fearless. So that fits Mei in this episode.
Great song choices. I think Ivy fits this show pretty well, and I want to dive into more of like the lyrics and the story later. But overall, like Ivy itself does tell a story too, so it's kind of like how in Pluto, Ai writing her story and everything, but it's still that, she's supposed to be with this person, but I'm in love with her. It's just a whole thing. It does fit, but you have to read into the lyrics more. So I need a little more time to put that together.
Oh, for sure. And then Ivy, the plant, is like invasive. So like that's what when Taylor Swift picked the plant, it's like it grows without you wanting it to or not. So that's a good way to represent like Ai's feelings. Like the ivy grows. It's like now I'm covered in you. Like you see it in the scene. She's like, I know I shouldn't be feeling this, but here it is, and it's growing and growing. It's constantly against my will.
And like her sister is in a coma right now, so can't even.
She sure is.
Do anything. It's just there's so much going on.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, so looking forward to your analysis on that in a later episode.
Wait. Last one, because you said it earlier. You're on your own, kid.
Yeah.
With Baby Ai.
That's Baby Ai. Yeah, seriously. All right. Big Gay Energy Award. I'm giving it to Mei and her flirting. Because good lord.
Yeah, that's good.
Lord. She's like, here's all of my skin. What do you think, Ai? Like, damn, the sequence of that. Yes, masterful.
Also, I walking in with her, like saying, what about me? You have to give me the case file.
Oh my god. I with Officer Hottie, and then I putting on her jacket before she gets on the motorcycle.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So many awards.
We talked about so much in 3 hours.
Reasonably attractive. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right.
So the answer again is Nam Tam.
The answer is Nam Tam. Yes. Being unreasonably attractive. Yes. Mm-hmm. This is your fault.
Okay, so today's secret word is a secret phrase because I could not figure out a word that would fit right now. So today's phrase that I want you to use in a comment or review, the review would be funny too, is who lit the candles?
Yes, who lit the candles? This applies to any Tiger Love show and the 100. So the 100, whatever.
Yes.
Yep. So let us know who lit the candles. I would love to see how you construct that. Get your inspiration from Ai. Give us a story. And until next time, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And get it up all over the place.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.